8 o'clock. Go live.
Deep breath.
That's probably the start, though I'm not 100% sure. I was rewatching some old stuff. Sorry, despite the fact that I had like 10 minutes to do this, I'm completely off kilter because I lost 3 minutes to my bedside clock being out of phase again. It's probably because the power flicked last night, and I just don't think to reset it because when I'm looking at my computer, I literally cannot look at my bedside table. They are not incompatible viewpoints.
Doesn't your computer have a clock on it?
Yes, Axe, my computer has a clock on it. It's very tiny. Can you see, like, I don't even know what point font your computer clock size is, but can you see that from, like, 10 or 15 feet away? Do you have Superman eyes?
No, I'm only like 5 feet away from my screen to my desk because I don't have that.
Yeah, I think I have a bigger room than you.
Your room is like 3 times the size of mine.
Yeah, I have a double bed, and I have bedside tables, and I still don't have enough fucking room for everything. I probably got demonetized. Well, no, it's longer than 7 seconds. It's fine. Though, YouTube apparently did somehow catch my fuck it, we ball reference, and that was ad-limited somehow. Quietly. But yes, I'm slightly off kilter because my clock is like a couple minutes slow, and so I was just leisurely going about my business, and I'm like, oh shit, I've lost 2 to 3 minutes. And that really put me off my game. Also, what I was going to say to Axe earlier, while I was getting in here and getting my last-minute stuff together, because you were, discussing non-stream business with me, the thought I was trying to articulate but didn't have time to was, I'm not so much of a self-centered, egotistical asshole that I can just completely ignore when people are talking to me. This is usually why I have to tell people to shut the fuck up, because them speaking is a mind poison.
I could just leave if you think that everyone talking to you is poison.
Well, all right, Axe, way to take that out of context as usual for yourself.
You literally
because you're
just
such a Debbie
described
Downer.
it as that.
Yeah, but context clues, Axe. I'm talking about in general. Also, you locked in on the poison part. I'm talking about mind poison. It's like mind goblins, but I can't, look away from the psychic attack that is people speaking to me. Oh, Lucky still has a headache. Damn. This is, by the way, why it was Katamari Damacy yesterday. If for some reason you didn't watch my Katamari Damacy stream, which was much more relaxed than this, despite being thought up at, like, the literal last minute.
Katamari is a very relaxing game.
Yeah, it's pretty chill. You should go check it out, people, if you haven't.
Even when you're getting shot at by people.
Well, they really don't do anything. It's funny. It's just really annoying when I couldn't find those, like, last 2 cops in that one stage.
I remember seeing that, yeah.
Okay, all right. Took some water. I thought about Katamari Damacy. My emotionals are more balanced out, which is perfectly appropriate for what we're doing today, chat. Enter the dark reaches of space and the new broken worlds. Yes, that is canonically what that is translated as. There's a lot of really weird wordplay here.
We are in a space Hindi epic right now.
Yeah, it leans a little more to the classic Hindu, but there are still, I think, some of the.
Or I guess it's a Hindu like space fantasy epic.
Yeah, there are a lot of Hindu themes and stuff like that, but also there is still some Buddhism because there's a lot of comments about, emotions and balancing all that stuff and.
Sure, it's just all like the big name stuff or like Hindu stuff.
Well, Axe, I don't. Despite the fact that I think I've said this to you before, but I would like to remind you, Buddhist names and Hindi names are often, or in Hindu names are often the same because they come from the same place.
Okay, it's that source I'm referring to. I don't know the term for it. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of syncretism because Siddhartha Gautama was Hindi and was working from that world space. But yeah, so basically the way this works is I will explain the really complex name in Japanese, the pun, that does not work in English at all, because they were like, there's no fucking way we can make this work because we don't use kanji. And so they just made everything alliterative, which is arguably better. But the way this works in Japanese is the fields and the zones, the areas, the way this works is their name is written sekai, as in the word for world, but the second character of kai is replaced with the kai from hakai, meaning destruction or break. Do you get it? You get it, chat. It's a world, but we broke it. Right now, you are literally looking at the card art, by the way, for Clear New World, which is written as both New Clear World and also Shin Sekai. So literally, it's Broken New World or Nuclear World. Or Clear New World. I guess it was Nuclear World, but they realized that would be a pun, and they did not want to go for the Barbenheimer.
Puns are for cowards.
Honestly, I feel like people take too many cheap shots at puns these days. Mostly what you should be
because
taking
they're too easy.
Cheap shots at is like basic bitch dad humor, which a lot of which is puns, but they're like the puns that are so obvious they're approaching ironic. I'm also pretty sure in Japanese they didn't intend this to be a nuclear pun because of how the words work. They just go on and stuff. But yeah, we're in space.
Mm-hmm.
There's let me find we do have some source on some of this for the Visas lore and the Broken New Worlds and all that stuff. Like we don't actually have the punchline in the valuable book EX, like the conclusion, but we're most of the way there. Yes, here it is. Here's the prologue. The description, translated literally, is: in a space where everything was enveloped in deep darkness, like a space, a glitter indescribable as a... Oh God, the grammar on this translation is terrible. Okay, I'm gonna do a literal line edit right here. A glitter that could not be described as a birth nor an ending bursted open. Probably should also find a different verb than bursted, but you would not use the indescribable verb tense here. You should say it as a thing that cannot be described. Green, blue, red. Apparently we didn't think of the yellow one yet. With the passage of time among the various planets that increased this glitter, a small blue glitter became a planet and began pouring over the green planet. That last line, by the way, doesn't make any sense. I'm going to guess that they probably should have... This goes back to the thing we were talking about with FGO, right? They probably should have translated some of these as star, because the blue thing is not a planet. It's a shooting star. It's a meteoroid. That is indeed our boy, Visa Starfrost, who we will pull up shortly.
Jesus.
Yes. So, just to let everybody know how we're gonna rock this. I mean, I'll tell you what Clear New World does, because it's part of the pun energy introduced in the old Battle of Chaos. And we'll talk about regular vanilla Visas. And then we're going to talk about Scareclaws. There are a decent number of, Visas evolutions and, his arch rivals and whatever and stuff to work from. Most of that character development comes way later. So we'll just do that later when we wrap up a lot of the Visas and Vedas cards. Some of which aren't even out in English yet. I'll give myself some extra time for them to turn it into a selection pack in Master Duel. What Clear New World does, by the way, this is a normal spell, normally. Very pretty rendering. I know I've stretched it and blown it up to super size, but it's very nice. But this is a normal spell that says, target a face-up monster you control, destroy it, special summon a monster from your deck in defense position who with a different original type and attribute whose level is lower than that monster's original level, but negate its effects. You can only activate Clear New World once per turn. I don't know what the heck this has to do with any of the Vsauce archetypes. I guess you can use it to blow up Visa Starfrost and summon most of your starters for those 4 archetypes. But they're... Actually, no, you wouldn't even want your starters. You would just want a name because they're negated. I think that some of them... Like, obviously, tiers have effects that proc when they are destroyed and sent to graveyard. You know, by card effects. That's kind of their thing when they're sent to the grave. So, like, there's some incidental synergy. It's just really weird. It's especially weird because this card actually, like, even though it's shown in the valuable book already, this card, like, links to the weird, evil Visas, the Veda guy, who we will talk about later. It's just is weird. It's very weird. I'm not really sure what we're going for here. I don't think anybody plays Clear New World. If you want to do
I think
weird...
it's like a one-up depending, because you need it for certain things.
I mean, I don't think you do need it. You can search it, but I don't... It has no, like, graveyard effect or anything. I mean, I guess it allows you to proc Veda Kalanta's effect, but you can do that other ways, I think, that are probably more useful. There are incidental synergies with self-destruction. I mean, that should be obvious. Like I said, the archetype is called, you know, Broken World and has the Hakai in it. So that's reasonable, but yeah, it seems like a cute but not essential card. There's probably way smarter ways to do that. But let's actually pull up the boy, because you cannot tell what he looks like from the horrible fry job and double lens flare eyeballs I have done. Because, like I said, the meme thumbs do better. That or people really, really like Mermail. Like you said, I was searching for an old video to pull up, and I just typed in fail portrayal, and like one of the top... The first recommended video YouTube had was the latest one, the Tenyu one we just did, because it was new. And then the second was the Mermail one, which just has the old fail whale logo from, you know, back when it was Twitch. Oddly enough. Oh, also, before we talk about this and his artists, I should mention there's not a Loth here. We got started early because Loth is out with his family doing something. Don't know what his time frame is. He probably won't be joining us later. But we wish him well, and we're going to probably make some very bad jokes in his honor. Wow. Sorry. I'm just... I feel like... I don't want to be rude to Visas, right? Maybe I want to be a little rude. He has very, like, basic bitch, you know, anime OC, or, like, this feels like this is a vibe I'm getting from like, Hoyoverse games now. He is the ultra-generic starter character in the gacha game.
Actually, no. He reminds me of a Xenoblade, a specific Xenoblade Chronicles character. Or at least the setting, his armor at least. Makes you think of the, there's a prequel DLC to 2 where you go to, like, you have, like, the Japanese country, or the Japanese, like, continent, and he looks like, it's that, they all have that kind of armor, but he's the cosmic arms, so yeah.
Actually, I want to say, you phrased part of that as a question, like I have played a Xenoblade.
Oh, my bad, I didn't mean it like that. I was more...
Yeah, I kind of picked up on that from actually explaining
like, anything,
it,
no,
but
he wouldn't be the generic because he'd be like a boss character because his arm makes him actually unique, so it'd have to be a unique model.
No, but he's a literal blank slate character, so this is absolutely your generic-ass anime protagonist. He literally has amnesia. Spoilers, chat.
Okay, eventually he's his own person, but yeah,
but like he's a character who like has amnesia so that other characters can introduce to him, and you slowly rebuild his like part out there. But
Visas is weirdly enough where it's like it's another sort of actually really convert to an RPG pretty well.
Yeah, probably, actually.
The way it's formatted,
has that
it works.
Vibe. Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting stuff. First of all, Clear New World is technically visible inside his arm. He has a weird starter arm.
He loses that eventually, I think. I always forgot he had this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense for it to get in there.
I think it's because his body's unforming, and that's probably what it is.
He's got some stuff. They actually do shockingly enough for a Yu-Gi-Oh card like outline. They explain like he has a literal numbered bulleted list of like what his deal is that comes up almost immediately after he gets to the Scareclaw planet. So we'll run through that as kind of a pre-spoiler to get into. But there's a little bit to dissect with his name. Visas in his name is actually, as far as anybody seems to be able to tell from the notes here, not actually got like a direct, like
I remember...
reference to Hindu. It means in Lithuanian and Latvian languages something like all or whole.
What I know is that I think it's something to do more of how Visas, and I think it's like Vita Karantha is actually a name of a certain cycle in Hindu cycles. I think Visas is meant to represent another, like a part of a phrase of a cycle.
It's possible. They do a couple of plays with his
like
names.
So
the Starfrost in his name is pronounced Sutafrosto. But it can be made up of the kanji for a phrase for years, which is made up of the kanji for star and frost. So basically, like, his name is Visa Starfrost. Starfrost is a pun on, years, time, ages. His name means all, so he is all time.
Cycle of the years, yeah.
Or, strictly speaking, this is something that is actually dropped from the way the TCG versions of these cards' names are. They use a lot of equals signs. So technically his name is Visas equals Starfrost, yes. So Visas equals all time.
I think they use it. I guess they got rid of this one because I thought they used it for at least the initial release of the card.
No, but what I was gonna say was that I don't want to be mean to him, especially because he wouldn't react at all right now. But he has huge, like, kind of normal, when you take into account his backstory and his character design being kind of, I mean, it's neat. He's got a couple of cool tricks. He has very strong Yu-Gi-Oh hair, which is good for them to actually give the card game characters the Yu-Gi-Oh
I would say
hair.
compared to like Albaz as like our starting protagonist figure, he's very generic, and also like, weirdly enough, him having like weird Japanese style armor doesn't have anything to do with him.
No, he's just got it because of aesthetics. What I was going to say earlier when I started this was I feel like Visas is somebody at Konami's art teams like anime OC boy, because despite the fact that Visas himself is only just kind of okay in these decks, I mean, he's all right. He has some stuff, and there's plenty of support for him in the other like related archetypes. Until they actually get to some of his later versions, he's kind of just like a weird extra name in these decks for a lot of them. He's been printed a fuck ton. He was the promo card, the premiere card for Dimension Force, which was his release set. He was a bonus Starlight rare in Cyberstorm Access, which came out a couple months ago. And they've declared that he's going to be reprinted again in the new upcoming 2-player starter set. On the one hand, that's probably good for that 2-player starter set because that means they are really getting you the good shit, which is something that the paper version of, the cardboard version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Needs in the TCG is easier accessibility and price point for actually usable cards. But yeah, like, he's been printed in like bonus packs in Japanese and stuff. Like,
I've been seeing a lot of uproar about how, as it's proven, to get to Yu-Gi-Oh! You have to be willing to Google things. Like, you don't need to be coached, but you need to at least Google what cards or what decks do to actually play the game.
Yeah, I think there's some point of interaction and practice. Like, I mean, I'll say this. I mean, I've been back in Yu-Gi-Oh! For literal years, for like 3 years at this point. So, like, I can't say that I'm back to new, but I was able to dip myself in Yu-Gi-Oh! Very easily just by being willing to fire up simulators like YGO Pro and then later EDO Pro and just try cards that looked cool and figure them out and play with a lot of different people. I know that there is some, like, aversion to that because that means that you have to be willing to lose a lot to things you do not understand, but you can get over that hump just through experience. The main thing I want to say right now, because I'll probably have some other Master Duel thoughts later, and we might talk about some new cards.
I want
Very
to talk
excited
about
for
like the
Centurion.
rare thing that happened recently, but
Real
after
quick.
we go over the cards.
Yeah, we'll maybe come back to that after the cards. But my microcosm of the response to that is just that I think Master Duel is the best way to learn Yu-Gi-Oh! I just think that it promotes itself a little poorly. Number one, duels should not be at the top. PvP should not be at the top. Solo mode should be at the top. I think actually playing all the solo modes, both the full practice modes and teaching modes they've added, they've had to expand on it a little, but that covers like all of the basic summoning types and core mechanics. And then actually playing all the solo modes and the extra duels walks you through a lot of different archetypes and the way they works, and will teach you about lots and lots of different deck combos. Like, if you play solo mode, you have to play against Monarch Brews, multiple ritual decks, Link Climb OTK decks, like, the Bugs, the Beatles, whose names escape me at the moment.
Honestly,
it's actually, like, very diverse.
I agree with you. I also think it's not a good way to show you how to play an actual modern format, or at least Master Duel format, because it doesn't really give you, like, you should always be running, like, sadly, it's true, because you always want to be running, like, the Called by Ash Maxine.
Well, no, I mean,
depending on your deck, so...
That is technically true, and is something you will learn by looking at other deck lists, but I think universally almost every Yu-Gi-Oh! Player wishes that wasn't true.
True, but, like, it's...
That's the kind of thing that you're
really
going to get again.
Also, in Bronze, you shouldn't be running into people actually playing, like, full decks.
But also, the other thing I want to bring up is I think casual mode in Master Duel is wasted. I think a lot of people begged Konami to add a non-ranked mode, and Konami was like, we don't understand what this is for, but we'll add it. And the casual mode actually fucking sucks. Literally, every time I've tried to boot up casual, it's just people practicing their meta decks without being in ladder, and it's pointless. You should enforce casual mode to be casual so that people can actually, like, play with humans and understand how it works, but not have the pressure of, like, every motherfucker has crafted 3 Maxi, 3 Ash, 3 Zeus. Well, 1 Zeus, because he's fucking limited, but you know what I mean, Chad. We'll wrap back up to this, but Visa Starfrost doesn't have that problem.
It's actually a cool deck, at least how it goes.
Yeah, so, honestly, as a core protagonist card, like, this is literally, like, this storyline's version of Albaz. He's alright, he's doing different things. So, Visa Starfrost is a light, level 6, warrior, tuner. That's right, he is a tuna. Why he is a tuna does not come up for a long time.
It doesn't matter for a while, but it's meant to be implications for later.
Yeah. And I think there is some slight meta context here in that, like, it gives you the impression that this guy is naturally supposed to go with other shit that is not part of his own archetype as well. But yeah, there's a payoff later. He's got 2100 attack and 1500 defense. Remember these numbers, chat. They are important.
It's a new kind of Monarch stats.
Yeah, basically. Because Visa Starfrost and his many hats are not unified by archetype type, they have to come up with a new way to do that, and then so they basically do the Monarch thing, yes. Recurring instances of 2100 attack or defense, and then 1500 the opposite one recur. He is an effect monster, obviously. If this card is in your hand, you can target one monster you control with a different type and attribute than this card, so not light, not warriors, which I think is actually true. There is no overlap in any of the 4 related archetypes for that. Destroy that monster. If you do, special this card. You can use this effect of Visa Starfrost once per turn. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can make this card gain attack equal to half the original attack or defense of that monster, whichever is higher if tied. That second effect doesn't matter. I mean, like, maybe you might, like, blow up, like, a weird Verte or something you've got left over. I know that I've done some weird summons in and had lingering monsters in, my own decks. You might blow up a weird tech piece to, like, get Visas on the board to push for game, I guess, but, like, he's got a battle-fixing effect that doesn't really matter, especially because he doesn't get multiple attacks. The main thing is he is a free special summon that executes by blowing up a member of your own board. Remember these things. Remember. So, to discuss the Scareclaws... Actually, no, I said I was going to say what Visas' thing is first. So these are slight spoilers. Visas doesn't get to know these for a little bit, but we have a 1, 2, and 3 here. Literally bulleted list in the numbered bullets in this
I think they should...
effect.
Reminds me of one thing. I feel like in, like, TCG cards should just be designed like this, so it's way more easier to comprehend effects.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that's just in general. That's a thing that like I've been complaining about for years. Also, that I know it's hard, but the TCG should try and figure out if they can do the OCG's effect scheme with literal numbered bullets, because that makes Yu-Gi-Oh so much easier to process. Okay, thank you.
You can actually where it's a separate effect now.
Yeah.
Or a separate option.
But Visas, he crashes down onto the primitive planet Reichphobia, we're going to talk about in a second, where the Scareclaws are from, the green one. And when he wakes up, there's no light in his eyes. He has anime, dead inside eyes, no light in them. And he figures out 3 things. He has been divided from all of his emotions by someone. A mysterious man has split off all of Visa Starfrost's emotions. Each of those emotions is running rampant according to their core emotion. So there's, there's little versions of all his emotes, like fucking the Pixar movie Inside Out. He didn't even know his own name. This is when he later realizes his name is Visas, and Visas realizes that he has to travel to the 4 big planets and reclaim all of his emotion bits. So, like, it's got a very standard but easy to understand plot structure. This guy has amnesia. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He crashes down onto a planet where he sees some weird guys we're about to meet.
So basically, you have your opening cutscene, you have your tutorial, your person discovers how to walk and, move.
Yeah, and fight.
Remember their name, and then fight.
Yeah, and then he realizes that he needs to get all his emotions back.
So you're gonna go fight your way through the planet to go find your emotion.
And so...
Feels like an opening to a video game.
Yeah, no. It's very direct and straightforward. And you can actually see a little bit of what we got going on here as I copy this for, as I said, we're going to talk about the Scareclaws first. This is the card art for Primitive Planet Reichphobia. In Japanese, this card's name is given as Shisekai Reiphobia. So, 4th Broken World, Reiphobia. I don't actually know if the Reiphobia is anything in particular. Oh, no, it is supposed to be a portmanteau of Reich. It's just that in Japanese, you can't really do the... Reich means realm in German, so it is the primitive planet Fear Zone. Actually, wait, no, fuck, I can make a fucking
horrible
She-Ra reference here. It's the Fright Zone. Boom, got it. Watch the Netflix She-Ra. Don't watch any live-action She-Ras. They'll probably be terrible.
Unfortunately.
Anyway,
live action. I've only made one live action that'll be good, but that's not.
Anyway, yeah. So, again, they rendered this because 4th Broken World equals Reichphobia is a mouthful, so it's the primitive planet Reichphobia. Spoilers again, chat. By the way, these guys. It's called the Fear Realm, the Reichphobia. All the guys are called Scareclaws. They're named after phobias. The emotion of this planet is fear.
Well, everything looks like weird, primitive, savage life forms with weird things attached to them. People, things are for people, actually phobias.
It's kind of weird though, because I think
only
have
little needle guns.
Only one of them is actually what I would call probably a primal fear. We'll discuss that later because, like I said, they all have theme names. But you can see most of the boys here in this clearing. You can see a lot of trees. You can see a little extra boy up there. Who's that? It's Reichardt, chilling on the mount. He is their king.
There's also a whole thing about. I think it's also it's meant to be an emotion, but it's also meant to homage to a certain layer of demons in mythology.
Possibly, but it's that at least is not straight up mentioned in the trivial lines. So I'm not sure if there's a hard and fast on that. We just know that the description of this planet in the valuable book, specific valuable book EX3, by the way, if you want to fact check me here. This is a world that creatures are the embodiment of fear itself. The Scareclaws lived. They clash against each other by turning their respective frights into power until the loser fell prostrate. I don't know a lot about the setting and plot of Chainsaw Man, but I feel like also this may have been written by somebody who also, like, only vaguely understood that one. Chat, this is not an explanation, by the way, for you to explain Chainsaw to me. It's okay. I may get into it someday, but for now, it's just way too overhyped, and I'm just like, nah, man. I don't get time for that. I'll look at something else. But, yeah, these guys are supposed to embody fear, and they fight each other, and the loser is, you know, cowed by their fear, and they have a king who is Scareclaw Reichhardt, who we will talk about later. But, boy, will we talk about him. But, yeah, Reichphobia is a field spell. This is their other thing. Each of these guys have field spells. So, also, by the way, spoilers. I'm going to double-check the top decks, but we're going to talk about Scareclaws now. So, basically, so I said earlier there's 4 archetypes, right? I can say what they are. It's Scareclaw, Tearlament, Kashtira, Menadium. So, 2 of those you will be intimately familiar with if you played Paper Yu-Gi-Oh! Until, like, technically earlier this year is when I think they started slaughtering cash. Like the like, March or something ban list. You knew these decks as the fucking terrors of cardboard Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you're playing Master Duel, you now know these decks as the terror of Master Duel Yu-Gi-Oh! Because there are people playing full power, well, not quite full power. We don't have a Rise Heart yet, but mostly full power cash in fucking silver.
Man,
yes,
actually,
I have been Kashtira jump scared.
I liked originally Kashtira, but I guess that sounds cool. But I think it's because I liked it when it was like first came out, so whatever.
Also, X, I don't think you ever understood the Diablos is the mind hacker tack.
I mean, I liked the mind hacker because that was the initial comic before most of the cards came out, so I liked the concept, but I didn't know how oppressive it would have gone, and it's like, oh, that's a bummer. I never got to actually like lab with it.
Yeah, I mean, you can lab with it right now if you want to try some variants. But
I know,
unfortunately,
but now it feels poisonous.
I feel like every
me for
time
trying.
I see a scary Master Duel screenshot from that Twitter account, it's just a Kashtira deck locking out an obscene number of zones. It's very, very unfortunate.
I want to do that once for the novelty, but then I'm just gonna feel like you guys are gonna bitch at me and moan so much.
I mean, you're not gonna do it with us. When do I play Yu-Gi-Oh with you? I barely play Yu-Gi-Oh!
Meant if I ever shared it to you guys would just have an aneurysm.
No. I mean,
Okay.
hey, by the way, spoiler chat, I've talked about this before. If you don't like Kashtira, which I don't, because I don't want to sit around for 5 minutes until my opponent locks all my zones, fold. Surrender immediately. Because one, it shows the players that you don't want to interact with them if they're playing cash, gets them the heck out of your rank. 2, artificially inflates their win rate so they get banned faster, allegedly.
Yeah, like you have to game the system there.
I mean, I don't know if it actually works, but allegedly Konami does bans based on number of cards included in win rate. So if you just fold every time you see a Kashtira player because you don't want to deal with it, that may or may not translate to them getting limited sooner. I think they started with like Fenrir as a semi-limit.
God, that was it. God, it's the experience of like. It's the experience of so the thing we'll talk about later, but it's just like turns out like so most people it's like I guess you the one way to improve your play experience is by making other people not play the game, which is a sad way to say it.
Yeah, unfortunately some decks are like that. Some decks are not like that.
I meant that systematically in Master Duel, not even playing the game itself.
But okay, oh no. I'm not quite right. There was a very brief window in November of 2022 where Adventure Scareclaw was a build.
I thought Adventure Pals did everything.
But only in the context of...
Coder?
No, this was 2022.
Oh, okay.
But the 3 regionals where this placed was Madison, Wisconsin, Winnipeg, Canada, Halifax, Nova Scotia. So you have to be Canada adjacent to win with Scareclaw. Don't ask me what that means. That's just where the tops are. So yeah, Scareclaw had some success when brewed with an adventure package, but in generally it has not ever been as juicy as the other types. Monadium, I think, is similar. I mean, it's still fairly new in TCG, and it's not out in Master Duel yet, so we'll see. Let me actually see Monadium deck types. Okay. In Germany, somebody placed top cut with a Monadium build in German Nats, so it has potential. It's probably a rogue deck.
I know Scareclaw Kashtira is an important card in like at least.
Well, yeah, but that's a Kashtira card. By the way, we're not going to talk about those now. I'll save those for the Kashtira.
That's probably where we're actually talking about Cash, yeah.
Because they're much more Kashtira cards than not. And also, somebody did a super heavy Sam Monadium build, which does actually have like
Synchro overlapping.
Four or five. I mean, it's called Monadium. They're only playing like a small handful of Monadiums, but they do have also have Fenrir and some Scareclaws in here and stuff. So like, it's a weird brew that like. They called it Monadium Super Heavy. I think, personally, I would call this, especially because there are 2 Visa Starfrost on this list, I would just call this Visa Super Heavy. But yeah, so Monadium and Scareclaw have potential as engines, as rogue decks. Kashtira and Tyr were meta. So it's interesting to see that kind of 50-50 split. But you'll probably figure out why Scareclaw wasn't super popular, chat, when we get to their actual mechanics. But so... that's our preface here. Reichphobia, the card we're still talking about. We'll get a lot faster about these, trust me. Field spell, when activated, add a Scareclaw or Visa Starfrost from your deck to your hand. Pretty normal. Just search Visas or add a Scareclaw. Monsters your opponent controls lose 100 attack and defense for each defense position monster on the field. If there are 3 or more defense position monsters on the field, you can target a card your opponent controls, destroy it. You can only use this effect of Reichphobia once per turn. You can only activate 1 Reichphobia once per turn. Now, chat, there's like 8 of you in here. Tell me, what's wrong with this card? I'll give you a foreshadowing. I believe this is also the problem with Ghost Trick, as it were.
Oh. Is it that they don't do anything themselves?
No, it's much more simpler than X. It says defense position.
Oh.
Yeah, Mr. Dennis Cordell said it simply. Links. This means you have to put all your monsters in defense position, which does kind of prevent you from winning the game. And you can't put links in defense position, which means that if your opponent's playing a link deck, or at least a deck that is primarily composed of links, you can't do anything.
I really think they should do something about that, where like...
oh, yeah, I know.
Make links explode, or they can go face down. Face down attack position.
Yeah, we've lamented a lot about how the fact that links just don't go in defense position has really fucked a lot of mechanics and decks. And I'm sure changing that would also do a lot of weird shit, but I think it will be overall better for the health of the game. Konami has decided not to release a new Master Rule yet, so we're still waiting, but we'll see. But yeah, no. I think this is the primary reason why Scareclaw has never been super big, is because their aesthetic is about your monsters being in defense position and your opponent's monsters being in defense position, and unfortunately there are decks where that just doesn't matter. This is probably why, though, I did actually see, like I said, there were probably like 4 or 5 Scareclaw names actually in that super heavy brew. Like, that's also a deck that's just like, I'm in defense position, so like it works, but I don't think I'll have to double check, but I don't think any of the Scareclaws have like a super heavy light type effect to attack from defense pause. Oh, also I should say this before we get into Scareclaws. Scareclaws are mostly Earth Beast, but some of them are Dark Warriors. This is kind of a thing you're going to see a lot with these. The Vsauce, the emotion core, will usually be a different subtype, usually a warrior. I think a lot of them are dark, actually. But they will be a different subtype from the core archetype type, which is, like I said, Earth Beast. But yeah, so Reichphobia, cool concept. Once per turn, you just get a free pop if you have 3 or more defense position monsters. your opponent's monsters lose 100 attack and defense, it kind of doesn't fucking matter. It's cute, but it would probably be better if it was a little bit more like Subterrors. I think it's the Subterror continuous spell is like you get like 800 attack or something for every face-down monster on the field. Actually, no, it's for every set card also. So, like, this feels a little baby mode. I mean, it's still a good field spell if you're going to run Scareclaws because it's a free search on activation. And hypothetically, you can get the pop. It's just the attack modulation is not very strong. Basically, I feel like there's a bell curve here, chat. Konami started softballing the Scareclaw, and they're like, okay, that's not really taking off. Let's crank that up. Tearlaments, Kashtira. Wait, nope, too strong. Dial it back. Vanadium. Roll it back. This bell curve happens a lot in Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay. But let's start with our first actual Scareclaw man. I jumped through some weird... There we go. Okay. Sorry. I'm being a little laggy today. Not sure what's up. YouTube's warned me a couple times about the stream rate. But let's look at this first guy. You saw him on that artist for. This is Scareclaw Acro.
Is his, like, fear meant to be of, like, growth or poison?
No, Axe. It's right in his name. Acrophobia. Yeah, I know. It's that simple.
I'm trying to remember what acrophobia is.
Fear of open spaces.
Oh. Right. I was mixing.
No, acrophobia is heights. Sorry.
Oh, because I was thinking of agoraphobia, which it's not the opposite of phobia.
Yeah, acrophobia is heights. I guess that counts.
So I guess they're powered by the fear they manifest.
Yeah, that was mentioned earlier. Though we've talked about a few things. They are empowered by the frights they cause and use that to make the other monsters submit. So yeah, acrophobia is fear of heights. I gotta be honest. I do kind of feel like they picked some weird basic bitch fears. Like there's no like. I mean, obviously you probably don't want to do, especially if you're because you're beast, not insect, you don't want to do arachnophobia, but, like, there's no fear of water, there's no fear of open spaces. It's a little weird. I
mean, they didn't do one of, like, the fear of just the collapse of the universe or fear of the dark.
I mean, you could have done noctophobia. I don't actually think there's a name for the arachnophobia on Wii. They are all named after actual phobias, I should say.
Gotcha.
But definitely, like, Noctophobia could be on there. There's plenty that could be. But, I mean, honestly, other than the fact that his name is a little weird, I mean, his character design is okay. He's a very angry BDSM gargoyle cat. That's a little specific, but it works. I do like the color gradient on this, by the way. I like the green into the kind of grayish-black. That's good. The halo's a little weird, but other than that, I mean, it's fine. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm a fucking Square Enix refugee. Not actually. I fucking love Square. Why would I leave them? But belts are okay. I know about belts. So yeah, he's a cat gargoyle.
Well, we don't need belts anymore. Never did.
He's got so many belts.
I mean, you never need belts.
I mean, you say that, Axe, but wouldn't it be cool if, like, you could wear a belt and then you could do a macro to, like, do a belt buckle emote and then transform?
Yeah, there's a reason we have 2 ring slots because that used to be belts.
I mean, I think practically doubling up on rings is better than belts. I'm just thinking of the funny glam potential. But yeah, belts are okay. He's got some wind. I do like the background work, like the gradient on these like clouds and the like cliffs and stuff. I'm like, okay, that's all right. It's all right. It's good art. Scareclaw Acro is an Earth Beast, level 3. Also, by the way, these guys are like a level 3 spam deck as well, and nowhere near as good as Burning Abyss, I don't think. Very funny. He's got 0 attack, 2k defense. You can special summon this card from your hand to a main monster zone adjacent to a Scareclaw monster you control or in its column. This is their monster's big effect. They are free specials, but you have to special them in a line or in a column. You can only special summon Acro once per turn this way. Scareclaw monsters in your extra monster zone, your EMZs. By the way, it does say EMZs, so it does account for if you somehow U-link your opponent. Gain 300 attack for each defense position monster you control. So yeah, all right. I mean, it's got a decent synergy here. This is it's a free special so long as you get one on the board. In defense position, he juices up your extra deck guys. We're going to talk about later. Scareclaws are a link deck. That's their summoning type. That's another thing, by the way. Despite the fact that the colors are completely off, each of the different Visas decks does correspond to a different extra deck mechanic. So you've got, the Link, the Fusion, the Xyz, the Synchro world. So, like, that's another cool concept they played with a little. So, he's free Link fodder. He is a beast, so I guess you could have run, like, I think there may have been some Tri-Brigade Scareclaw variants they tried. Because he's just, extra guys if you have Scareclaws. So, it's alright. It does kind of remind me, I know we're only, like, one in, but it does kind of remind me of, like, Bujin-style gameplay, right? Protect the tower type stuff, where, like, you've got usually one core monster who usually upgrades into, like, one or two good extra deck monsters, and then all your other cards are just about, make that one guy good. Make him better. Protect him. Give him battle effects and stuff. It's very funny, by the way. Somebody said a million years ago, because we've been going for 45 minutes already, that they called Visa Starfrost, Final Fantasy protagonist-looking ass. So, we're really going to jump in on that. This is Scareclaw Astra.
Is that to be the fear of the stars, or is it just fear of electricity?
No. Astrophobia is thunder and lightning, actually. Because that
works.
Astra in Latin is star, but Astra in Greek is related to thunder. So yeah, he's an electric cat.
Cool design. I could see it. Oddly enough, maybe you wouldn't get it, but this looks like a design I'd see in like the current level, like the Endwalker normal raids.
Interesting. Well, I'll get there eventually.
You understand because it's the place is called Pandemonium. You maybe understand eventually.
Yes. I mean, I know what Pandemonium means in normal terms.
It's kind of like
so,
that,
yeah,
but not
okay.
exactly.
Okay.
It's a bit
All
different than that. It's just
but yeah. So this guy's the fear of lightning. I mean, I'm sure he is a cat because Japan knows about corals from Final Fantasy. Despite the fact that otherwise in English, coral is like a really obscure science fiction reference.
I never knew that there was always kind of like a green theme to it, but like I guess it's meant to be green, but like corrupted by like fear and like destruction, I guess.
I mean the green is their colored orb or ball. Like that's their Visas realm. They are the green planet. So
is the question then like these used to be like green creatures that then I guess Reich then mutated into his like minions?
No, because the planets are supposed to resonate with the emotions. I don't actually know if they've discussed that cleanly
all the belts and the armor look like it's something he just put on them.
The belts and armor are probably added by him, but I think these creatures are just naturally kind of this greenish color and they have their fear powers because they come from this planet. Remember, this is the planet of fear. Which also probably says a lot about Visas' power level if, they sucked out all of his emotions and they seem to have manifested in celestial bodies that embody his emotions. I don't actually know if
the guy is meant to be a Shiva figure, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily if like the idea is that his parts, his fragments just were like, oh, this place seems nice and set up shop, or like I think it is supposed to be like the whole like ecology manifests as part of them.
Honestly, I think it's more of his energy sparked their existence, and then it just hyper-speeded into growth.
Yeah, it's they do talk about like there was an event which is neither a creation nor a destruction.
It's just a displacement.
a birth. But yeah, this guy's a cool lightning cat. That's nice. This is another level 3 Earth Beast. It has 0 attack, 1300 defense. You can special summon it through that way that I described earlier with Acro. Scareclaw monsters in your EMZ can attack a number of times each battle phase equal to the number of defense position Scareclaw monsters you control with different names. I know, it's very basic, bitch, but it all is like... I gotta be honest, I think the main thing is just, because they're really big boys, a Link 3. I don't actually know how the fuck you're supposed to make the Link 3 and then have him have all these bonus effects. Because you would have had to special summon all these materials, and you can only special them once per turn. What I'm saying is this deck needs a fuck ton more main deck names. I don't think they'll get it because of how the lore is, but there's a lot of potential for a lot of main deck names they could have done. And now we're going to get to probably our weirdest one. Like, I mentioned earlier how I was kind of disappointed about them being, like, not really primal fears. I do actually think Fear of Heights is a primal fear, so, you know, like, 2 out of 3. I feel like fiction plays up astrophobia a lot more. I haven't actually, like, ran into that many adult humans who are actually, like, astrophobic.
It's more if it's close to me, it's like, not phobia, but it's more like...
Yeah, it's just like, oh, that's loud.
It's startling.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that was really close, damn it.
This is actually a really common fear, but like I said, it's not. I wouldn't call it a primal fear. This is Scareclaw Bellone. Bellonophobia is the fear of sharp objects. So if you have, like, a phobia, a, like, irrational fear of needles and stuff, that's Bellonophobia.
I like that it's also got, like, besides... Honestly, all the buckles are honestly just because they're animals and that's how it stays on them. But... So, like, I can excuse the buckles because it makes sense there. But, like, the muzzle there is because it's meant to be... Also, that his mouth is zip shut. It's also zippered.
Yeah.
There's extra layers of fucks.
Huh. He's got, like, needle fur on his legs, which is not, by the way, holding up his giant needles. Those are just floating in chains. That's just his fear power.
He also has, like, he also has, like, weird blade tips to, like, his legs.
Yeah. It's, sorry, I phrased that weird, but that's what I meant by needle fur. He has, like, weird pointy tufts of fur on each of his legs, which is thematic. You can also see his tail is, like, bladed. Like, this guy is weird, but, like, for fear of sharp objects, that's perfectly fine, you know? This is some very esoteric shit. I'm surprised we haven't summoned Dallas, because, especially with this guy, this dude right here is, like... We're talking about fear of sharp objects, right? And his muzzle and his needles. We're talking about some Hellraiser shit right now. This is like if there was a dog Cenobite, right? A dog-a-bite, if you will. Dallas probably has never looked at a Scareclaw because they have a very linear gameplay that's very weird. But yeah.
Actually, Mega, I think if it was a Cenobite though, it would have way more holes and like cuts, and it'd be missing more flesh.
Yeah, probably. It's not like a zombie dog. Anyway,
it would probably have the gaping giant, but it'd have like it'd be vivisected halfway through.
Scareclaw Bellone is an Earth Beast level 3, as they all are. It has 0 attack and 1700 defense. You can special summon it through the special summon wave we elaborated on before. And then, if your Scareclaw monster in the EMZ attacks a defense position monster, do piercing. So, chat, you've basically seen the whole run through here. Scareclaws special summon themselves to swarm, and then they boost their Link monster in the EMZ with extra effects. On paper, this is perfectly fine. You're looking at if you were to get all 3 of these names on the board, right, you're looking at a 900 attack increase. You can attack 3 times per battle phase, and you do piercing. That's cool. Once again, I reiterate to you, so far from these monster effects anyway, how the fuck do you get your Link, by the way, who is a Link 3, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think he's 3, because he's called Tryhard, literally. Or is Tryhard later? I don't remember. I'll look in my notes in a second. Hold on. Yeah, it is Tryhard is the Link 3. So, your big boy's a Link 3. How do you make a Link 3 and then summon back these 3 dudes? Because they can only be summoned once per turn. I think there may be some spell traps that help with that, but just core strategy-wise... Also, by the way, I think we're going to look at, like, every Scareclaw spell trap, because almost all of them have, like, interesting story-related art.
A lot of Ethos has that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Alright, now it's time to talk about the boy himself, the scary man. This is Reichardt. So, this guy gets turned into like a Funko Pop. I think he looks better at that as that. I'm not a big fan of this man.
He reminds me of like. I also just noticed he also has like the sword Cosmic Hand too.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a star hand. I'm okay with that. That's good. He's got a hold on. I don't think this sword design makes linear sense because like it's over his shoulder, but it's like
It's meant to be
curving around forward.
It's entirely a curved blade.
Yeah, I guess it's curved all the way. It just doesn't. It doesn't look like it fits quite right, but that might just be like a layering or masking issue.
It might be just because it's the way it was drawn, is because they had to do it around his head. So
yeah. I mean, his hair's okay. He's just Vsauce but green, and his hair's like really long. I thought he might have actually had wolf ears, but he doesn't. I don't think he actually has the ears. I think his hair just grows that way. I don't mind the colors, like this kind of like light or bright green and purple is, an established color scheme. You may recognize it from such things as Evangelion. But I don't know, y'all. I don't know, chat.
It feels like if Vsauce had to become, honestly, so far all I've seen are like Xenoblade style art character designs, kind of. So it just feels like this is Vsauce, but if he was like an MMO meant to be like a dark and edgy MMO boss.
Yeah. Or this is he class card shifts to Dark Knight, but in like the silly way. I mean, the lightning effects behind him are cool, but just he's got so many like loose belts. He's got chains for no reason. I don't even know where the chains go.
Like this feels like the idea of being like, it feels like a weird idea. Is it feels like it's the aesthetic of like he's meant to look like a final boss, but he's also the first boss. It has that kind of feeling of being like they're not trying too hard, but they're trying too hard at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, and he's got his fucking 6-pack window, and he's also got a little heart cut out, which is important, because they have a lot of heart theming in their names. But like, it's just a little odd and wacky. He is not my favorite man. Anyway, this guy's actually goes in your main deck though. Reichhardt is a Scareclaw Reichhardt, specifically, I should say. He is a Dark Warrior, level 4. So honestly, like, for trying to make this deck work with like generic support, they picked a very good typing in Dark Warrior level 4, right? He's got 1500 attack, 2100 defense. You can special summon this card to, a main monster zone adjacent to a Scareclaw card, etc., etc. If this card is normaled or specialed, add a Scareclaw spell trap from your deck to your hand. That doesn't include your field spell, but you have a wide variety of Scareclaw spell traps. Then, if you have 3 or more defense position monsters on the field, you can draw 1 card. You can only use the effect of Reichhardt once per turn. So Reichhardt is a pretty decent normal summon to start your pattern. You can then start special summoning Scareclaws to zones adjacent to him. If he is not like the start of your combo for whatever reason, he does have a draw engine, but it's only to draw 1 extra card. So I don't... Chat, you should be vaguely familiar with the concept of card advantage, right? I don't think that drawing 1 after you've already got 3 monsters on the field is really worth it, because you would have had to have committed at least 3 monsters, and then you replace 1 of them? I mean, I guess, like, Reichhardt also replaces another with a search on summon, so, like, you're getting a 2. It's like an N-gauge kind of situation. The main problem with that is that Sky Striker is a super efficient deck. You literally need 1 monster normally, right, to get going. Scareclaws are all about having, like, trios. So it's a little weird. It's not the most efficient deck. Like I said, I do kind of feel like Konami had kid gloves on when they were starting this up. But yeah, so he's all right. And this is the literal last main deck name for Scareclaws. All remaining cards are spell traps or extra deck monsters. This is another thing that I kind of like. I like the lore they've been doing with Yu-Gi-Oh! Lately. Like, Albaz and the Abyss stuff is really good. There's actually some decent, like, writing and art style design in the Visa Starfrost stuff. I don't like how we've always had these, like, very limited lore locks, and then we just can't make more monsters. It's like, oh, well, slight spoilers for some card arts we're going to see later, but, Visa Starfrost shows up and he fights Scareclaw Reichhardt and eats him, so I guess there's no more Scareclaws. Dude, there's a whole planet full of them. There should be some more Scareclaws. You just pick some new phobias.
I mean, they can make more because literally, like, I think technically the planets get spoiler. All the planets get remade for the second cycle.
Yeah, I think they loop.
Or
they definitely like all recombine and split again. I'm pretty sure.
And then turns out that the game's a roguelike.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Yeah, it's a roguelike. He finishes the run and has to reset.
Well, no, he lost to the final boss, which is Vitas.
But he comes back as a new him.
Yeah.
We'll talk about all that stuff later. But yeah, so like, I feel like Konami doesn't want to add new Scareclaw monsters other than, I guess, yes, technically Scareclaw Kashtira, but like I said, we'll talk about that when we get to
Kashtira's the whole thing.
Because there are a couple of opportunities where they did that hybrid stuff, but it's not super helpful to these decks necessarily.
Just to clarify, there's only the 3 planets and then technically the internal world, right?
No, I think the Monadium has a field spell planet.
Monadium was inside him, so.
I mean, it might be, but it's treated because like it's got a field spell that follows the New Broken Worlds format.
Gotcha.
So
I guess it only shows the ones and everything.
Yeah. That said, Devisis does do some portaling. He does some teleporting, so it's not really relevant, like where it is physically, because we do a lot of metaphysics shit here. But yeah, so these guys are all right. I desperately think they need some more. If Konami wanted Scareclaw to be good, which to be fair, they don't. This was a cutout discussion I saw in an MBT stream archive about Magic. He looked at Magic's upcoming slate for 2024 and was basically like, I think I might be done, guys. Because they've got a lot of... probably makes them a lot of money, but are not very inspired, like, big crossover Universes Beyond sets. They're going to do a crossover with Fallout and Assassin's Creed next year.
I was looking at the Fallout one because
sets.
I feel like I like the 40k one, but that's because 40k is already weird anyway.
40k is probably better than I think Fallout or... Especially, I agree with MBT's comments about Assassin's Creed.
No Assassin's Creed.
What's that going to be like?
Fallout at least feels like the same kind of nerd space.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like I said, I think that they will sell well. If they have cool card art, like the art on those smaller block of, like, Doctor Who crossover cards.
Oh, God, I just thought about the mono-white Templar deck.
Yeah, it'd be funny. But, like, they're returning to, like, Ravenica. They are gonna have like a weird cowboy set, which could probably be cool, but they got a lot of stuff that's kind of oddball. But MBT also zeroed in a comment that a staffer at Wizards and Hasbro said recently about Magic, right? Where he talked about like he basically said that like if we were to release like premium quality sets for Commander, we would have to release them at premium price points, and basically went through this whole analogy where like, let's say we release 4 sets of a card game. Ideally, us and our business partners want you to be an equal amount of interest. I should say specific. He did not say you, like to this person he's responding to. There should be an equal amount of interest from the audience in each of these sets, so all of them should have a similar price point and power level and whatever. And I think MBT said something positive about Konami that I think is true. Konami doesn't give a shit about that. They will release weird side sets to bait on anime nostalgia or just because they can. They just did a fucking Hidden Arsenal reprint like a couple of years ago, or technically last year, I think, just because they hadn't printed some of those cards in a long time. And they just don't care. Like, Konami will be like, hey, we're reprinting everything from Hidden Arsenal 1 through 4. No, we're not really adding any new support or anything. We're just reprinting these cards. They haven't been printed in a while. Do you want them? No? We don't give a shit about the secondary market. Like, you know, they don't have their version of the reserve list in the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG, right? Like, so, on the one hand, I understand that Konami may not have been trying to make Scareclaw, like, bitingly competitive, but hypothetically, if you're a Scareclaw stan or if you're Konami and you want to, like, move Scareclaw product, you need to give those boys some more main deck names. Let's talk about their extra deck monsters. Sorry, I'm just thinking it's funny. I was listening back to the Failed Portrayal I mentioned earlier, the old episode that I dug up because I was like, oh yeah, I want to remember what that was like. Was the Magic one we did? That was a lot more chaotic because there's like 6 of us in there? 5, I think.
We equally scuffed or
Loth,
of an attempt?
Dallas, blah, 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 Vesper. What did you say, X? Sorry, I was counting.
Were we equally scuffed or is it more just more people?
It was scuffed in a very different way. Like, there's a lot of chaos and talking over, and I'm listening back in the like the fucking VOD, and I'm like, oh, yep, Vesper was trying to say something here that we just dropped, or Loth was saying something here that we just dropped because like 4 other people started talking. Like, it's chaotic. This just you and me is not as chaotic, but I think it's prone for like both of us to just go off when the other isn't speaking.
I just want just to say sometimes, because it's like you're saying a thing and you bring up how like your brain stops working when anyone else speaks. So
yeah, if you want me to complete my thought, interrupting is bad, but that's like when I'm done. If you don't got anything to add, we just move on. But like,
I mean,
at
yeah,
the same time,
so...
I try not to cut you off or anything either, because it's just the 2 of us, you know. So like, it's funny.
I mean, I get it. I wish I had more to say, and like, I might as well have more to say now that like I made it anyway. But I mean, there's not much to say about Scareclaws besides like I get what it's going for. Besides me literally making a joke of how like I think the last like 3 big story arcs could literally be made into video games and they would sell well.
Yeah.
I think like Outbows might need some work of like you having to make like some Final Fantasy 16 open zones to do things in, but outside of that, I think there's some like set pieces and boss things you could do there.
And at the very least, the Albaz setting has those big
like,
wide open
it'd be
fields,
like
you know?
the main city. It'd be the city of Dogmatica.
Yeah,
It'd
like
even
Dogmatica,
be a very big, the main game zone of Golgonda, then like the mountain, then like the Ice Jade Cairn, and then the mountains.
Yeah, the Swordswell Mountains.
Swordswell Mountains. And then
hypothetically,
I guess
it would be
like
side
thing of the Therian Arena.
Yeah, the Country of
Like
Iron. I was going to say you'd have like a weird side area that you'd only access as like Kit in like a classic cutaway side story.
Or you
would
play
work.
Sargus. Actually, you play Sargus. Actually,
that would work too.
Which would really you have a whole sequence in like a final boss sequence as you play Sargus as champion Sargus. Yeah.
You could probably do both. I'm gonna be honest. What I understand of the audience for these kinds of games, people would probably be more excited to play as Kit.
I think both, because I think you would have like weird like wall jumping and like.
Yeah, she'd have. I think she'd have access to Bear Broom at this point, so she could have like Kit and then Power Armor Kit and then fucking Jet Fighter Dragon Kit. Anyway, we are not here to talk about how based Kit is. We're here to talk about Scareclaw Lightheart, aka Scareclaw Funko Pop. I mean, it's not a 1-to-1 actually. Like, he's not that deformed as like a Funko Pop.
It's
but
more.
He is literally chibi.
Mega, do you know what like a Final Fantasy Esper is?
I mean, yes, but you may be thinking of a
think
specific
that.
game.
I guess like 6 or 11.
Yeah, Esper is one of the many words they have used for summons before, in addition to like.
I mean, it's like
Icons,
it's like the mini version of a summon that hangs around you for some stuff, but like.
Yeah,
it's
your little baby guy.
It feels like it's a.
Actually, this is literally a Final Fantasy 14 minion. This is wind up Scareclaw.
He's just a minion now. He's just a minion, yeah.
Yeah, he is. We'll see in the card art them actually fighting, but Visas and Reichart fight, and then because he comes into contact with him, Reichart gets absorbed into Visas. This is when Visas realizes, oh, I'm Visas. I've lost all my emotions, and they've been divided into guys that I need to get back. Okay, cool. And then he gets this little, he gets the little chibi minion version of Reichart to ride with him.
I'm suggesting he didn't get one of like the other ones, but yeah.
Slight spoilers, but that's because technically Red Boy steals them.
Right. Okay. So like he never gets to, right?
Yeah, he doesn't actually get to that stage.
Gets it right. That's why it goes horribly wrong when he gets them all back at once. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He's a little out of balance, so he gets his fear back, which I think like is supposed to be metaphorically like double-sided. Like he gains the ability to fear, but also the ability to cause fear. Basically.
It might also be like your desire. It also might also be like his survival instinct, as in the fear of death.
Yeah, fear is important. Chat. It's important sometimes to actually acknowledge that you are afraid.
It's sometimes also your desire just not to want a thing.
Yeah, fear and aversion is interesting. It's a useful, much like pain, it's a useful sensation. But yeah, so this is the little chibi star boy that comes out. This is a Dark Beast Warrior Link 1. It has a left-pointing arrow, which is very awkward, but you're not really supposed to link climb in Scareclaw.
You're supposed to make the Link 3 and then make another one and then have them come in, I guess.
His materials, also the reason why you've only seen this guy very rarely. This guy specifically is exactly one Scareclaw monster or one Visa Starfrost. I appreciate these materials. He has 500 attack, by the way.
He's meant to be like a searcher, right?
Yeah.
Or like a support card.
Yeah, I'll read out his effect. So for this card's Link Summon, you can only use monsters in your main monster zone as material. If this card is Link Summoned in your extra monster zone, add Primitive Planet Reichphobia from your deck to your hand. If you control Visa Starfrost, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. You can use this effect of Lightheart once per duel. So yeah, Lightheart basically, if you make him as your first Link monster, you get to search your field spell, which lets you search another guy. And remember, you can summon in Scareclaw columns, so you can use that to special summon a Scareclaw, you know, in the column with Lightheart, and then you like branch out to make your Link 3, etc. So they gave him a little Link 1 starter. He's a weird boy, but he does help out the deck. And can hypothetically come back for some future Link plays with Visa Starfrost on the board. That reminds me, I need to maybe look into World of Final Fantasy. I didn't realize, but the PS4 version is free with PS Plus.
He doesn't know
you still got to pay $15 for the Maximo DLC for the like Switch version that came out a few years later. But the base game is free. Anyway,
honestly, that's probably a better way to describe it. He looks like one of like a lot of the summon chibis in World of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and again, that may be the art style we're going for. And so then we have the version of Reichardt, which pops up when he's ready to rock and roll. That is the version he fights Visas with. That is Scareclaw Tryheart.
I remember this is like directly a reference to like an actual like Hindu Ashura.
Probably. I don't know.
I remember it being like directly a reference to, but like he actually looks cooler now that he actually like has the full armor going for him and like the actual like arm.
His first form is just him being a fuckboy. This is like he's actually a boss now. This works a lot better. I like the color striation because you've got the like bright green and then it fades into the fucking starlight pattern, right? Like that's really good. You can't see all of him, but you can see that he is a pretty scary monster boy. You know, he's got like a fucking Cerberus thing going on. He's also like a Cerberus centaur on its back, and he's got his giant claw arm. It's got wings. It's got all kinds of shit. It's got like a triple tail. It's got a lot of detail, but I don't think it's busy because all of it kind of like fits this like tricolor design language, right? Technically, he's got more than 3 colors, but you know, 3 primary colors. So it's like, yeah, it works. He got some extra facial markings. He no longer has his weird titty window. I think he actually has wolf ears now. Or at least his hair got even more anime. So yeah. The OCG version of this card's name is Scareclaw Tryheart. Like, Try plus Reichardt. They just did it Tryheart in English. Probably a little less confusing. But he's a big bulky boy. I do like though that they do the appropriate bridge. I mentioned it earlier with Lightheart, but him and Tryheart are both dark beast warriors. You know, so they fuse with the Scareclaws who are beasts and become beast warriors. Very good progression. Makes sense, Yu-Gi-Oh. So, the Scareclaw to Tryheart. You're gonna once again see, chat, if you're savvy with Yu-Gi-Oh, why this card's maybe not as hot as he could be. So he's a Dark Beast Warrior, Link 3. He's got the bottom 3 zones and the arrows. He has 3k attack. His Link summoning requirements are exactly 3 effect monsters. So he has to be made with a 3-mat. Must be Link summoned. All face-up monsters in the field are changed to defense position. Unaffected by the activated effects of defense position monsters. Once per turn, if this card's in the EMZ, target 1 level 3 Scareclaw in your graveyard, special summon it, add a Scareclaw monster from your deck to your hand. You can't special summon monsters the rest of this turn except Scareclaw monsters.
I'm getting the impression I feel like Scareclaws need to be more of a spam deck.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what you're supposed to do, right? You're definitely supposed to go, like, you normal summon 1, you special summon the other 3, possibly you
only have 4 names.
Link off for what do you call it?
I guess technically you have 5, but that was a
Lightheart
cash card.
First. Like you link off for Lightheart in one of those so you can add the field spell. You get to make Tryheart, you get to summon back one of your Scareclaws and add a new Scareclaw. Problem. If you summon 3 Scareclaws to make Tryheart, which technically you don't have to, you could have summoned a Visa Starfrost, but remember that he's a level 6, who needs to destroy something on your board to summon himself. I think he has to be a monster. So, like, no matter what, you're going to be down a lot of card res, and as Axe just pointed out, you've only got, like, 4 or 5 card names.
And one of them doesn't even work fully with you.
Yeah, one of them doesn't have the synergy. So, yeah, Scareclaw really needs some more names, because they can't...
Actually, no, Cash is whenever you're playing a weird hybrid thing, because that's Cashier's thing, is you meant to, like, literally use hybrid parts of the other archetypes because you stole it. Because Cashier's entire thing is about stealing resources from other planets.
Yes. And we will discuss thematically what that means later, because I actually think it is pretty interesting.
As you can tell, I kind of really dislike the concept of Cashier as a narratively, at least.
I mean, you probably should. They are like...
They're like a fucking space-conquering empire.
So, like,
they're presented
so
pretty
to put this in perspective, Scareclaws are like the starter enemies. Like, they're antagonistic because they represent fear, but also
they're a demon tribe. There's like a demon tribe.
They literally, once Visas like absorbs Triheart and turns him into Lightheart, it is mentioned in the valuable book, they bow to their new king. They're like, oh, you're the boss now. They become allies, right? They just switch sides.
They're a bunch of animals. They're just animals.
They're simple. The Tear Laments are sorrow.
That is a that's an entire like queendom. That has a whole like hierarchy thing going on.
Meta-wise, obviously, people probably have their own beef with them, but like in the story, their big thing is that they're about sadness, and that their boss, their version of the heart, is trying to find very specific tears so he can achieve immortality. He is trying to prevent death, so there is no more grief.
It's also a whole thing of Vsauce doesn't even fight him in the end. They kind of
they just kind of like agree to disagree, and then Kashtira's get involved, and Kashtira represents, in case you couldn't tell from Kashtira era, represents anger.
No, there's an entire card about him getting killed.
Yeah, they
no, listen. Visas doesn't end up fighting that heart. He just ends up getting betrayed and killed, which is the whole thing. But,
well, he's not really killed for a while, because
he's mortally struck. They stab him through like the chest and stuff.
Well, I mean, Axe, once again, I'm looking at the valuable card book. If he does, yeah. I think
Visas still absorbs him, but it's more he doesn't ever fight him.
Well, yeah, no, they don't fight because, like I said, a Kashtira shows up. They have a.
I think it's like, is it Fenrir or Unicorn?
I think it's Unicorn. Yeah, I think it's Unicorn. I'm pretty sure because he's got a big horn on his face. Yeah, it is Unicorn. They call him out in the book. So basically, he tries to figure out what's going on with this world. There's this sorrow thing, and the Tear Laments are like, oh, hey, you look like our boss. I guess we'll tell you about what's going on. I'm trying to figure out what's up. And then Rhinoheart is like, you have betrayed me. I'm going to turn into my monster form. I'm going to control everybody. But then they, like, cancel each other out. Fear cancels sorrow. And then, he defeats Rhinoheart. He's going to, like, get some of his power back. But before he can get it, as he literally holds out his hand to get
take him back in,
Rhinoheart back, Unicorn just fucking bum rushes in, punches them out, steals Rhinoheart, flies. Flee.
What's Tiamat's crime then of? Because I thought it was really of one of the mermaids stabbing Rhinoheart.
I don't know if I'm looking at the card art. He is kind of clutching his chest. I don't know if he's stabbed. I think she might just be like, "Hey, you brainwashed me. Don't do that." I
maybe it's remembering it wrong because I just remember the whole thing of being like supposedly, I guess initially.
Okay, no, it is Kit Callus. It says Kit Callus attacks him, and with a single attack, he is defeated.
I think she really stabs him in like the chest. Yeah.
It's a little we'll get into this when we do Tear Laments. The card art for Tear Laments involves a lot of like inky blue-black shadows in places.
It's all underwater.
So, like,
it's all underwater, yeah.
Yeah, there's a little ambiguity. I think you are right in that, like I said, the two of them do actually kind of like fight because Rhinoheart
they have a skirmish.
Is an extra asshole, fights, but like he basically what happens is it's like a raid mechanic. Kaleido Heart, he becomes Kaleido Heart and starts brainwashing your allies or summoning ads, and so you have to do a mechanic to get rid of him, and then he just loses,
Yeah, it basically turns out that it's like the boss fight where it turns out you were gonna do the rest of the phase, but actually there was to be at phase 3, but that becomes a cutscene instead.
But all right, so Tryhard, like I said, it's a good concept, and remember, the idea is that this guy, if you were able to play Scareclaw ideally and have all 3 main Scareclaw names on the board, this guy has at least 3,900 attack, because he's got plus 900 from that guy. He gives you 300 for each defense position monster. He has piercing, and it can attack 3 times.
It should be your finisher move. You can get the hits off.
Yeah. Honestly, like, worst comes to worst, you just summon the guy who gets you extra attacks. He 3k attack. If you can get in a couple of times after some other damage, you might actually be able to just end it anyway. The main problem is 1, this boy has no protection. 2, I mean, he does. Well, he has a little bit of protection. He's unaffected by activated effects from defense position monsters. He's like a Baguska. Baguska's cool, but there are decks that can beat Baguska, right? So, like, it's rough. And also, like I said, if you are fighting another Link deck, you don't do anything. You don't switch your board, and you aren't protected from effects. So, like, it's good. I don't know if it's good enough, and obviously I don't think it was, because, like I said, Scareclaw had very narrow success and had to hybridize with another engine because, like, literally the adventure package is like, hey, I don't know what to do with my normal summon. What do? Play adventure. But all right, so we're going to run down the Scareclaw spell traps, though, now, because, like I said, there's quite a few of them, and maybe we'll dig up some hidden gems there.
Honestly, Megan, us talking about stuff is reminding me. I kind of hope like the next wave of Visa stuff is literally just all of the same archetypes again, but hard mode.
That'd be cool. That'd be a good way to give support. I mean, like I said, I don't. Other than that, I could argue that.
I don't think tier needs more cards. They already have a bunch of names.
So, well, here's the thing, Axe. Almost all of the tier and Kashtira names that are good in the OCG anyway are fucking banned. So,
fair, but it's OCG design first though, so they care more. That's usually like.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, right?
Them,
like,
so.
Scareclaw and Monadium probably need more names. Tier limits and Kashtira probably need replacement names. We probably need to do that thing where we like retrain cards that are clearly too strong to come off the ban list, and we make.
Also like Kashtira's whole thing is they also make versions. They just make Kashtira versions of other cards.
Well, yeah, that's true, but like you could still do something with them if you
I'm
needed
also
to give
thinking
them
about what was it? Did Monadium get a bunch more tuners? Like, don't they have like 6 tuners now?
I think they have a few more tuners. They're pretty decently fleshed
I
out.
think they're good. I think they're good there because usually also you're supposed to use it with Visas anyway. So.
Well, he is also a tuna.
Yeah, well, like they make it so you don't. It doesn't count. They don't count as tuners for it.
Yeah, you can do some stuff there. The main thing I think is just that Monadium's problem is that they're a synchro deck in a sea of actually a lot of really good synchro decks. Sync is very on right now, and I don't know if they really break out from that.
It's always like synchro. Weirdly enough, synchro and links are always usually the strongest ones. Oddly enough, with like some splashes of Xyz.
This is Scareclaw Alternative. The like full crazy kanji name for this is Inheritance of the Fourth Broken World. So this technically, I believe this is after, even though you can't see him right now. This is after Visas absorbs Tryhard. Presumably the Lightheart is gonna like pop out of the portal, but basically, the Scareclaws are acknowledging him as their new boss, and he is being portaled away to somewhere else.
I really don't. I actually just look at this whole thing. I just don't really like the design. It may work better as like a game, like a 3D model, but like I don't think I like it. He's
just pretty normal. He's just kind of a guy. Yeah,
because it feels like it needs to have like motion physics to be cool in my mind.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing his arm like actually moving around with the bits floating. Yeah, but yeah, otherwise he's just kind of a guy.
You need to be able to have like his hand literally is a microcosmos, like separate from the name microcosmos.
That would actually be pretty interesting if you could see, like, yeah, definitely seeing
his arm,
an
actual
like,
galaxy inside of his arm.
It's just in there. That could be cute. Okay. So, what this card does? This is a normal trap card. Tribute 3 Scareclaw monsters. Okay. For the rest of this turn, your opponent can only special summon monsters in defense position. I do believe, by the way, this actually floodgates them out of links because links can't be in
that's
defense
one
position.
way.
During this turn, banish
about...
this card from your graveyard, inflict 100 damage to your opponent for each defensive monster on the field. You can use this effective Scareclaw alternative once per turn.
That's bad. That's so bad. Make it like, make it 500.
Yeah, the 100 is bad. I know that the OCG especially is very touchy about burn decks, but like,
because it's like you can barely do anything. Because it's like
it doesn't do anything.
It's like if you're only playing a Scareclaw deck, unless even if you play like honestly, Omega, how would Labyrinth Scareclaw work? I guess if it's a double trap there.
I mean, it does cause monsters to leave the field via the effect of a normal trap. One, I think that Scareclaws need their field spell too much. The second is that, remember, they are a Link Climb deck, and a lot of Labyrinth lines lock you to Fiends in the extra.
Right, yeah, that's fair, because they're not Fiends.
Yeah, they're Beasts and Beast Warriors. Technically, Labyrinth has a pretty open extra deck, but that's because their own cards lock them out of certain summoning.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't think it would work out great. I think the idea here, though, is, like I said, I feel like this card exists, like, one to, like, if you're going first, right? Which, by the way, I don't think Scareclaw is a going first deck. BT dubs. Normally,
you want to go for the kill.
Yeah, they're like a going second.
I think you're an OTK deck if you can get the combo off. Actually,
like think like Blue Eyes or Cyber Dragon lines or some other. I've seen some other OTK going second decks lately, but I can't think of them right now. But yeah, think like those. Like you're gonna make your big ass Link and you're gonna clown on your opponent. So if you're forced to go first, this gives you a thing to do that does technically floodgate your opponent, because remember, it says your opponent can only special summon in defense position. You cannot special summon Links this way, unless there's like a specific like ruling that says you can still, because they can't be in defense position. This does give you a floodgate to stop the normal problem that fucks your deck. The problem with that, you have to successfully execute a normal trap while having 3 monsters on the board. Cool, great. What do you do on the next turn? I don't know.
You die.
Yeah, it's like, what do you do when you get to turn 3?
You die like how Scareclaw, how Rhinoheart died.
Like hypothetically, your burn effect. Like I think the idea is that you're supposed to be able to like use that to clinch a battle if you didn't win with just your big try hard attacks. It's still way too small.
I just thought about something, but honestly, I think this reminds me of an actual thing I think Masters should do more. They should make gimmick fights that actually emulate how the narrative of fight goes in for some story modes. Like I feel like if there's a Visa story mode for Scareclaw, that should make it where it's a entire gimmick fight where like turn 1 or 2, Rykart will do the entire combo and make tryhard of the whole thing, and your point is you survive it, you will just kill him.
Yeah. So our next card is Scareclaw Arrival. This shows a very obvious card art. Vsauce has just appeared in a meteor, and Rykart is like, "You! I instinctively say, fuck you. I understand you have come."
I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yeah. Yeah, I like these lines better on his sword, but normal Rykart is still normal Rykart. It's like, I know it's not, but chat, it looks like his
45 degrees.
It looks like his sword is not 45 easily, sadly, no.
Or at least like 30. Like just make it so like.
No, my rotations are in 90 degrees.
God,
I can't
seriously?
free rotate him. Yeah, I can't free rotate him.
You need to use something more better than paint, man.
It's straightforward.
Just use something better than paint. Like there's actual purpose for this shit.
Yeah, but those usually cost money. I don't have a constant enough income of cash that I can just spend stuff willy-nilly.
I mean, I know
big drops.
I know those that don't cost money, the ones that just like actually just, never mind.
I mean, I think they're just paint.
Well, there's the other ones that just.
Anyway, I don't actually think it matters if you rotate it 45 degrees or whatever. Like he's standing at a Dutch angle, it's fine. What I was gonna say before that is that I know it isn't, but it really looks like his fucking sword chain like stops at his codpiece. Like it's chained to his cock, and I don't like that. And I know that's not what they're going for, but like, dear artist, stop drawing the chain between his legs like that. Then, thank you. Other than that, yeah, this is just pretty alright. I do think the perspective is a little fucked. Even if we rotated it, I think it would still be kind of off because I'm not sure. I'm not sure how what's his face Acro can be facing that way, and the other one facing that way, but Visas is like standing there. It's like we've got tunnel vision. This is a problem generically with Yu-Gi-Oh! Card Arts chat, where the artists will feel compelled or possibly be ordered by corporate to show all the named cards in the art, and it just doesn't work when there's like 4 of them. But yeah, hedge we are. Scareclaw Arrival is a normal spell trap. Target a Scareclaw monster or Visa Starfrost in your graveyard. Special summon a defense position. If a Scareclaw Link monster you control be destroyed without a card effect, you can banish this card instead. Okay, so this card is actually pretty important. When did this come out? Was this from the first? This was in DeFi, so this is the initial wave of support. So yeah, this is a card you need. Not for that special summon effect, though that's also a good way to extend to get your guys back, which is important as well. It helps out get your guys all in a row for your Scareclaw, your Triheart combo. But also because in your graveyard, it lets you protect your poor Triheart, which is what your deck is about. Also, for some reason, this was called, I think it was just because of the space or star illusions, this was called Scareclaw Nova in the OCG. I think Scareclaw Arrival is you know.
I think it does represent, like, the Nova him showing up, I guess.
Yeah, no,
like,
you know, Nova is like new, but also
Starfrost
explosion. But yeah, I mean,
like
he fell in a meteor.
On him right now.
Yeah, but like, it's the kind of thing where if you say that in English, people will be like, why are they called Starfrost Nova? He's not, like, exploding. Starfrost Arrival is a little more straightforward, but still works. The Scareclaws also, by the way, unfortunately have a lot of card arts of them being owned.
Because they're basically they're the first world tutorial guys.
Well, also not that, but when he comes back from Tier Limit Land, we got no new names for Scareclaw other than Scareclaw Kashtira eventually, but we did get quite a lot of new Scareclaw spell traps, which is all of them being fucking bodied by the Kashtira.
Yeah, sure, do that, yeah.
So, this is a preview of coming attractions. This card, and this will be yeah, I knew it would be big because I got this up DeviantArt. This card's not in Master Duel yet, obviously, because they've only just done the first wave of Kashtira support. But this is Scareclaw Decline. It shows Kashtira era fucking bombing Visa Starfrost, who appears to be using his power he got from Lightheart to manifest his giant sword.
I mean, I think the only useful thing besides having a trio beast to fight for him, I guess.
Yeah,
I feel like they could honestly have made more names for Scareclaws just to show them the art, but whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, so
that's why I honestly hope there's gonna be a round 2.
Some stuff going
honestly.
on here. Yeah, art-wise, this is a pretty good thing. This is called, it's phrased as Decline Scareclaw, not Scareclaw Decline in Japanese, but it's, you know, kind of name is Fourth Broken World Degraded by Machine. So it's like literally describing what's happening. The machine is bombing the planet, the 4th planet. This is a normal spell. It says target a primitive planet Reichphobia you control or in your graveyard. Return it to your hand. If you control Visa Starfrost, you can Book of Moon 1 monster your opponent controls. Flip a face-up monster to face-down defense. If 3 or more defense your monsters on your field, banish this card from your graveyard, add a Scareclaw card from your graveyard to your hand. You can use this effect to decline once per turn. So, honestly, this card's cute. I think you would just run Book in Scareclaw. Like, you would just run Book of Moon and not have to worry about bouncing your own field spell, which is a hopped, by the way. So if you bounce it from your field zone and you've already used it this turn, you cannot get it activated again. So, like, this card's just really weird. I think I get what they're going for, and its graveyard effect is decent, I guess, if you're, like, foolishing or otherwise sending a lot of these guys to your grave. Which, you know, hypothetically, if this deck exists in a if we did a meta that was just the 4 Visas decks, you would have to worry about Mill, because you'd be playing against Tier Limit. So, like, that's cool. But otherwise, this one just feels a little weirdly slow, you know?
Honestly, considering how I feel like Tier and Tier and Cash worked out, I'm amazed that, like, Scareclaw and, like, I guess Vanadium didn't make more explosive things, but I guess the entire idea is that... Actually, wait, no. Tears all about milling yourself. You don't actually ever mill yourself. That's only because of the Ishizu cards. That's why.
No, there are some. Yeah. I think there are some spell traps from tier that like allow you to send a couple cards from your opponent's deck as well.
Okay, but it's never like it's not like.
But no, their main monster effects are like send 3 special summon me or when you're sent. Yeah. Ishizu did really take them over the top. Ishizu tier.
Because I guess it's like Tears about like milling yourself, and then Kashiro's entirely about stripping all the blood out of your opponent's veins.
Yeah, you just like no. I mean it makes sense once you realize
now. I own all your blood.
Once you realize that Kashtira is about anger, about wrath, it makes perfect sense that their deck's whole theme is, you know what? Fuck you, buddy.
Fuck you, it's mine.
Your zones? Fuck them, my zones. Your extra deck monsters? Banish them. Give me that extra. Give me that extra.
Does it hurt? Does it hurt? It better hurt. You know, it's like that.
Yeah, I'm here to cause problems on purpose. Or what's that meme? I don't want peace, only problems. Zed, you have missed all of the Scareclaw monsters, which isn't that many. Yeah. We're talking about their spells.
We're just talking about connective tissue right now.
So speaking of guys who fucking die, spoilers. This is Scareclaw defanging. Lightheart fucking dies.
I thought they showed us, but wait, this is like way later.
Yeah, this is way later, but I don't want to re-talk about Scareclaws. But yeah, basically, Scareclaw's plot comes in 2 waves, talking about, like levels in a video game. First, there's the initial, and then Visas realizes like who he is, what his mission is, and he's like, okay, bye, and he teleports to the Tearland planet.
It's as the enemy set and then the equipment set, so they put it.
And then he comes back to Reichphobia and realizes it, like I said, to chase the Kashtira, and realizes that, oh shit, my buddies are being bombed from space. So yeah,
they're being strip mined and bombed. Yeah, the glass on the planet and strip mining.
So, Scareclaw defanging. Let me look up full names and stuff as well. Yeah, just Scareclaw defang in Japanese. But yeah, this is a future spoiler of Arise Heart, the
in his armor.
Yeah, big boy version of.
Is there a card just armored Arise Heart? Or is the rank?
No. This Arise Heart is the armored version. Rise Heart is the less version.
Oh, okay.
I know that's kind of confusing in English, but yeah, it's.
I guess wait, no, it's phase 1, phase 2.
It's
shit.
Rise, Arise, and like Tri-Heart, Light Heart. So yeah, this is Arise Heart eating Tri-Heart. Spoilers, I know, but. So yeah, it's funny. Like Visas does eventually come out better. His like, the name of his final form we have seen so far is called Visas Samsara. Like, he's starting to cycle again.
Which I think is actually his original. I think this is actually his original form. Actually,
it might be. Also, spoilers for that guy later. Right, regular Visas is a warrior, right? Visas Samsara is a fairy, aka
he's a celestial being.
He upgrades a little, but for the most part, for the plot of this arc, he gets his ass kicked a lot.
Well, again, it's the whole like, it's almost like back to the old in Arsenal days. Like, new enemy shows up, kicks their asses. We had to go retaliate. We beat them.
Yeah, I think I mean, like he does obviously win out versus Tearlaments, but like I think the only clean win he has is versus Scareclaw Tri-Heart, and then everything like that is like complicated.
It is, especially considering he beats Rise Heart, but the problem is it just goes horribly wrong because it turns out his body couldn't take taking everything back at once.
Yeah, he wasn't meant to get all 4 of his balls.
And then
back.
his mind shattered for a bit.
Got a little freak out. It's okay. Listen, the man, he was devoid of emotion, okay?
He just became a giant monster that could destroy the universe. No big deal.
Yeah, whose name is literally Vicious. Anyway, Scareclaw Defanging is a continuous spell card. Ah, yes. Okay, I'm reading this one. This is the Band-Aid card. It came out in Photon Hypernova earlier this year. It hasn't done anything to make Scareclaw actually relevant, but it'll be helpful. This is a continuous spell that says, your opponent cannot target Scareclaw, Link monsters, or Visa Starfrost with card effects, and they can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So this is the giving Tri-Heart protection from only defense position monster effects that are activated doesn't help. Banish any monster destroyed by battle with a Scareclaw, Link monster, or a Visa Starfrost you control. You can banish a Scareclaw Link monster from your field or graveyard. Target one monster your opponent, target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. You can only use that effect of defanging once per turn. So yeah, this is the fucking Band-Aid card. This is Konami's like, oh shit, Scareclaw's not as good as Cashier and Tearlaments. What do? We give them one continuous card that does everything. You get targeting and destruction protection. It turns all of your monsters into DD Warrior Lady type shit. There's another like generic like extra deck monster that banishes like that I'm not thinking of. But still useful. And then also it gives you a pop. It gives you like a little baby access code move. So
it does a thing. Yeah.
It's good. It's very funny that this card is just like all net positives for Scareclaw, but like I said, the card art is Lightheart gets fucking owned. Not sure what, a little bit of a mixed messaging here. But in general, if you are playing Scareclaw, in paper anyway, once again, this card literally came out this year, so it is definitely not a Master Duel yet. They're getting better. They've released like 3 brand new secret packs like really fast, which I appreciate. And they're all good, One's Punk, one's Adventure, and one is Sortel. It's Sortel Yangzing, not Sortel Tengi, but still. Good shit. I'm sure they will probably eventually make an, just like they did with Albaz, they'll do an Oops All Visas secret pack.
Oh boy.
So, defanging is good, and you should be running it. Here's another card, which, again, terrible pun names. This is Scareclaw Sklash. Yes, it's like Clash, but with an S.
Basically, he doesn't have any weapons at the time, so he just had to, like, cosmic punch his heart out.
He has to fucking Kali Maz his other half. Yeah.
I love the visual effect of that's actually fucking cool.
Yeah, no, card art-wise, this is good. Like, the arm going into the heart and then, like, the lines being sucked out into, like, the star points is, like, damn. That's neato.
I can fucking see, like, the thing of, like, because you can tell he's, like, Visas here is Den side.
Yeah. The comparison between, like, like, Tryhard is, like, no, how can this be? And then Visas is just, like...
Actually, no, I was more thinking it as, like, it shifts from causing fear to being in fear.
Yeah. Cannot be defeated. Actually, that's not the voice I would use for Tryhard. Anyway, I like the full. There's a lot of really overly complicated Japanese names for this. The full name of this in Japanese is Fang and Fist Clash of the Fourth Broken World.
Meh.
Scarecross Crash. So this is a continuous trap card. Once per turn. You can target one Scareclaw monster or one Visa Starfrost you control. It can attack while in face-up defense position this turn. So they do have a weird way to super heavy themselves, but only with a continuous trap. Wait, a continuous trap with a... Oh, I understand why this card's not very good. Anyway, if it does, apply its attack or defense, whichever is higher for damage calc. When your opponent activates a card or effect while you control a Scareclaw in your extra monster zone, send this card to negate. Yeah, so Scareclaw's Sklash... The effects are good. This card's problem is that it is a continuous trap. If this was a continuous spell card, and it was still like once per turn, a soft once per turn, you have to target one of your Scareclaws or Visa Starfrost to give them like, the super heavy attack effect. That's cool. And I like that it says, actually, you know what? Pick attack or defense, whichever is higher. So, like, you can summon Visas in defense, but still attack with his 2100 attack, right? That's neat. And the fact that it is a send to negate protection effect. The problem is being a continuous trap card, you have to set this first, then flip it. You're probably never going to get to use its first effect because you're going to be using it on your opponent's turn to send itself to negate effects that are targeting your Tryhard, assuming you didn't win. So, like, it's okay. It's very awkwardly placed, a continuous trap, I feel. This is another card that's got a very funny name. Don't think too hard about it, chat. This is Scareclaw Straddle. Sky Straddle from the Fourth Broken World. This is just Lightheart and Vsauce in transit. You can see they're going to the blue ball, so this is them flying through time and space to the tier limit planet.
I think Venus is like, well, where are we going? It's like, just follow me, we're fine. It's totally fine.
Yeah, Visas is
don't,
like,
don't bother.
Visas is like, I still have no idea what I'm doing, bro. And Lightheart's like, nah, it's cool, bro. I got you.
Okay, okay, like.
Do I have the emotion? Have I recovered the emotion for uncertainty yet? Have I found my anxiety?
Honestly, let's see. He's gone. He gets fear, sorrow, rage, and then I guess serenity.
Yeah, Manadium is calm.
He doesn't actually get happiness. I guess it's.
Yeah,
I guess
there's
it's not
no
meant to be all. Actually no. I guess. Wait, no. It's all the emotions you get when you die. He was missing.
Yeah, that probably is the point.
That's thematically the point.
To death. And then also it may be a thing of like these are supposed to be like because they're 4 different colors. These are like the 4 different components that make up your other emotions, stuff like that. But yeah, like.
Honestly, if they do run to, maybe it's the other side of like the emotional spectrum he's missing.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of it's kind of interesting. I wonder if they'll go that overall, like because they are eventually going to do a new wave. We could end up with maybe like, 7 total of these archetypes because
it's like what are the other emotions there could be? Honestly,
I'm gonna double check with the colors.
It could be Joe because Melanie has to be like Zen and like tranquility.
Yeah, but like there are because we talked about this with Tenyis last time. Remember, there's 7 chakra points. Those chakras are usually associated with a specific emotion and their flow is blocked by another emotion, and they are associated usually with colors and elements. So they could wrap this back around. It's not explicitly a chakra thing, but they could tie it back in.
What would the other ones then be? Because I just can't understand.
I'd have to double check.
We'll check over done of the cards, I guess. Just maybe it's interesting to be like speculate what could possibly be because they might be it might be right at that point.
Scareclaw Straddle, by the way, is a quick play spell card. You can activate one of the effects. 1, target a Scareclaw monster or Visa Starfrost in your monster zone, and a face-up monster your opponent controls. Your monster gains attack defense equal to the monster's attack or defense, whichever is higher. When an effect is activated that targets a Scareclaw or Visa Starfrost you control, negate that effect. You only activate 1 Scareclaw Straddle per turn. So, Straddle came out in Power of the Elements. That's when Tier hit. This was very clearly Konami realized they'd fucked up with the way Splash is written and did it better. This is a battle trick, so it makes your boys bigger. Or you can use it as basically like a My Body type effect. Your opponent tries to target Scareclaw or Visa Starfrost, and you're just like, no. It's a quick play spell card that's kind of like your Omni Negate. So yeah, this card is good. If you're playing a Scareclaw deck, you should be playing it. Alright. And then I think there's just one more. Yeah. One more Scareclaw spell trap. And yes, that's related to the Kashira arc we're working on, so I'll have to find images. A little small, but it'll work. Somebody has blown up the image. So this is Scareclaw Twin Saw, which is clearly the name of the special attack Visas gets.
That's the Blue Mage skill.
Yeah. So in this picture, I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure he's actually okay, he's defeating Ogre.
Right, I've always heard Ogre exists.
Yeah, so this is him killing Scareclaw Ogre. Now, you do notice his arm is getting a little bit of juice from this. He's getting a little bit of juice back. But yeah, so Scareclaw Twin Saw is definitely like the name of his special attack in this form.
I don't know what to say besides seeing like it's a cool in motion shot.
Yeah, like I said, most of these at least show something interesting happen. So this is a normal trap. Spoilers. This is just Scareclaw Icarus attack. Normal trap. Tribute a Scareclaw monster. Target 2 cards your opponent controls. Destroy them. And if you do, if you control Visa Starfrost, banish those cards instead of sending them to the graveyard. So, first of all, if this is just, which you brought up earlier, Scareclaw is a spammy deck. Giving your archetype a searchable
I think
in-archetype
it should be,
Icarus.
but it's not spammy enough.
Well, yeah, it's not spammy enough, but hypothetically, you are able to get a lot of summons. So. Oh, Mr. Dennis Cordell ran on some chakra stuff. But, like, hypothetically, this is a searchable trap, and you do have ways to get your guys back out of the graveyard, so it's still useful, and it can turn into, like, a double karma cut, almost, if you have Visa Starfrost on board. So, like, that's useful. If a Link 3 or higher monster is on the field, banish this card. For the rest of this turn, neither player can activate the effects of Link monsters on the field. You can only activate one Scareclaw Twin Saw per turn. So, yeah, Scareclaw Twin Saw gives you the ability to also protect yourself from your opponent's Link decks, right? But it also means you can't activate your effects, but you would just, because the effects you get for Triheart are not from Triheart, right? Like, his effect is only to add a guy back from graveyard. You would just banish this after you do that.
You know, actually...
So, Twin Saw is another good card. I don't think it's enough to save Scareclaw, just because, like I said, Let me count out the numbers and names here, right? Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spell trap names and 4 main deck names. If you're running that at like 3x,
I wouldn't run the spell traps at that amount. I wouldn't run the spell traps at that ratio. At least, 2 of those at least I would not. I'd probably run it one at most.
So 21 plus 12, which are like
33
palindromes, is only it's 33. So
you also run 3 Vsauce.
Yeah, okay. So you're most of the way to a deck,
36.
but like you said, Axe, you would not run 3 of all the spell traps.
No, you'd probably only run like 3 of them at 3, and like maybe like 1 or 2 of them at like
spell,
1 or 2, and then like move on from there.
Yeah, you're getting pretty close to building a competent deck. The problem is that that's still not enough monster names. It's way too spell trap heavy.
Honestly, I'd probably then run like some Vanadium cards, I guess.
Yeah, some of those might have some synergy. I think there's a brew where, like I said, Scareclaw could be rogue. You know, it had a little bit of potential combined with an adventure package.
Also, Tedley, you could also run Kashtira Scareclaw, and then I guess you'd have to run like slight Kashtira cards in there, but like the non-main guns. So I don't know.
I
guess you could run Fenrir and like.
Yeah, I was about to say part of the reason why Fenrir is limit 1 or banned is because Fenrir and Unicorn are just generically good.
I mean, yeah, but you'd also run that because you could run it for like enabling Kashtira cards with like Kashtira's Scareclaw.
Yeah.
Basically, you have to put a little in there just to make it work. I'm not sure if that's a weird thing to say.
So we're getting to names level. The problem is still just like, for instance, a lot of your spell traps have graveyard effects. How do you get those guys in graveyard? You know, the ratios are not perfect, so there's still a little bit of work. But yeah. I do have one final card to cap us off a little bit, to let you know that not everything is bad news bears. Though it will become more bad news bears later. But our final spell trap I think that is relevant is yep. It's a little big. Hold on, let me wind that back.
This is way later.
No, not lore-wise. It's not actually later. This is Trivikarma.
Wait, but this is after he like goes into a separate space to go fight Riseheart. Because it's in the Kashtira dimension.
Yeah, but this is it is on Era, but this is after Scareclaw defanging.
Okay.
So this is basically Visas going Super Saiyan after Lightheart dies. He's just like, hey, fuck you.
It's probably actually just an elongated scream.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll explain more about how this came to be. This is though like lore-wise, I wanted to bring this up because there's a lot of stuff going on here. So before we discuss that, what this does is this is a normal trap that says target a Visa Starfrost and an effect monster your opponent controls. Negate that opponent's monster's effect. If you do, the targeted monster gains attack equal to half the original attack or defense, whichever is higher. So, Visa Starfrost negates them and steals their attack. Manage to carve from your graveyard, add a spell trap that mentions Visa Starfrost to your hand, except Trip Karma. You can only use one Trip Karma effect per turn, only once that turn. Cool. So this card is important because of its name. Basically, the Trivikrama is the 5th avatar of Vishnu, a.k.a. the Vamana. And it is the portmanteau of Karma. So in Vishnu's legends, Vamana liberates the 3 worlds, Heaven, Earth, and the Netherworld, from the demon lord Bali. So, you know, he literally divides the 3 worlds and, you know, beats them all up. So, this meets that version because this is Visas after he has visited 3 of those worlds and is powering up to finish things up. But he's still got some stuff to do because there's some stuff that happens in Kashtira. But yeah, so let me actually see if these are. I'm looking at the stuff we talked about with chakras. Yeah, I don't think they're directly related, and obviously color-wise they are completely off base. The heart chakra is the green one, and that's associated with like love, acceptance, stuff like that. Peace, that'd probably be better for Vanadium. The root chakra is about survival and safety, and I believe that's the one that's, you know, related to being blocked by your fears. But it's interesting. So yeah, we'll have to see where this goes. But yeah, we're off to kind of like an okay start. As like a package for Visa Starfrost, I think Scareclaw works okay. And there are some interesting mashup decks we're going to get to later. But next time we do this, we're going to talk about Tearlament. So, yeah. Get ready for that one.
I want to jokingly say we should also probably include the Ishizu cards because they're technically
we could talk about the Ishizu cards, yeah.
They're also honorary members of that archetype, oddly enough.
They're funny. And I still don't know if anybody understands what all they do because a lot of people are just like, oh, it's a Guido. Oh, it's Budora.
Agido.
Oh, it's Keldo. Hey, we got a Guido. A Guido.
Guido. It's still like the best part for me. Still good. It's still fun.
But I mean, there's a few things going on in Yu-Gi-Oh world I might want to mention. Let me scroll through. Let's see. We know about that. We know about that. There's a lot of new skills for speed duels. Like, Smasher's got announced for the TCG. Oh, yes, right. It's listen, I've said this before. I like Yu-Gi-Oh! Organization. I do not dislike them.
They just need an extra section to separate certain things.
I get that they're like, you know, they're volunteers. They've been doing this for 10 years, but like this is our because Konami doesn't really do this. They mostly go through like very minimal Twitter announcements and like basic bitch pressers, and then they go through YouTubers. Yu-Gi-Oh! Organization, YG Organization is like one of our premier news outlets for Yu-Gi-Oh! And they still do dumb shit like they did this article on the Centurion cards from Valiant Smashers with some fucking bad CGI Cylons, and I'm like, ugh. Because my brain doesn't think, oh yeah, this weird Cylon picture is Centurion, you know? But let me actually see if I can... do the pivot, yes. But as Mr. BT says, new cards, PogChamp, new cards, PogChamp. Sadly, we don't have a acceptable Pog in our upload space. But this is one of the decks that I'm actually really interested in. Centurion. It's from the Valiant Smashers. So this is a synchro deck that is like, hey, what if Gurren Lagann was all about cute girls? Also,
I'm not sure about that yet, but maybe.
It
reminds me of something else, but I can't think of it. Yeah.
I mean, posing-wise, it's very Gynax.
Fair.
So one of your core cards here is Primera. It's a level 4 Light Tuner, 1616. As usual, you know, you got all these, you know, very fun first, third effects here. If you're normal or specialed, you can add a Centurion card from your deck, but you can't special summon Primera for the rest of this turn. So you can't double up. 2, if you're level 5 or higher, Centurion monsters can't be destroyed by card effects while this card is treated as a continuous trap. That's always fun. During your main phase, while this card is treated as a continuous trap, you can special summon it. So yeah, this is Centurion's thing. They haven't shown the means for you to do that yet, but they go in your back row as continuous traps and then come out as monsters. It's real neato. This does, by the way, mean that their continuous trap effects are quick speed. So you've also got Trudea, a Dark Pyro, level 4, 1,000, 2,000. During your main phase, you can place this card you control one Centurion monster from your hand or deck, except Trudea, in your face-up spell and trap zones as continuous traps, but you can't special summon Trudea for the rest of this turn.
I don't know why, but like I'm getting, I think of like Choco art for some reason, like Melisine and stuff like that.
A little bit, yeah. We'll probably get a better look when we get bigger arts.
These like to be part of something else.
Well, they're gonna wombo combo, but this is a deck build pack, so no, they're probably pretty standalone.
Oh, okay.
Unless they decide to reintegrate later, but no, this is from Valiant Smashers. This is the second of our Valiant Smashers archetypes they've actually premiered, because they have already talked about the other guys, the Memory Boys, which are cute, but I don't think are going anywhere. But yeah, while this card's treated as a continuous trap, you can special summon it and increase its level by 4. So this card lets you set your guys' continuous traps, and then also you can summon it, but not the same turn, because you can't special summon her. And then Centurion Emmet 6. Some people are like, I told MBT, no, it's like Emmet V. It's very clearly the Roman numerals for 6, pretty sure.
Emmet 6, yeah.
Also, it's the giant robot. It's an Earth Machine level 8, 2k attack, 3k defense.
Is it all the same girl? Like, do you see just do it for different suits?
Well, Primera is primarily the pilot, but Trudea is involved in these some places.
I guess she's the co-pilot,
yeah.
or like
so she's sitting at the top. I think it's powered by like Trudea's like energy because she's pirate.
I guess Trudea's like an energy being, so yeah, I guess yeah, she's a fluid. She is a pyro, so yeah, she's the engine spirit.
This is their like more Darling in the Franxx type anthropomorph one.
No, it's not that. It's what's the other thing that had like the whole the Inazuma kick? What was it?
So Emmet 6 is
oh no, it's a gunbuster mech. Actually, what it is.
I think it's that's something I've also heard people say that it's also.
It looks like the third iteration of Gunbuster.
I think actually, let me double check because I think some of the idea and why people mention Gurren Lagann is that like Emmet 6, like while he's got a head, he also kind of looks like a head. I think when we get to the
actually no, okay, no, it's Die Busters. What I'm talking. Die Busters is what I'm referring to.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why people are thinking of Gurren Lagann, though I will agree that Legatia is not very Gurren Lagann looking, is that I think Emmet becomes the head shape.
Wait, let me go find the actual art I'm talking about, just to see what I'm talking about.
Chat, we're talking about giant robots. Anyway, Emmet 6's effects are, during your opponent's turn, if this card's in your hand or graveyard, target a Centurion monster you control except Emmet 6. Place a phase up in your spell trap zone as a continuous trap, and if you do special summon this, during your main phase, if this card's a continuous trap, special summon it. So a lot of these cards have ways to stack themselves into your spell trap zones and then summon themselves out. And they have a tuner, so they have a synchro monster. Also, by the way, you probably could just put this in Fail Portrayal.
Wait, I could do that too, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, you DM'd it to me.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. I was just like, oh, why did I get it? Why did I get a pop alert?
It looks like that to me. I guess like
yeah,
I guess
no, this definitely. I'm looking at it. Can I easily right-click copy? Yeah, I can. Hold on, put this in Paint. Yeah.
I will find you another program that's free. I'll find you another free program that's better.
I mean, Paint's fine. I'm wondering if Discord will allow me to just. Oh no, because it's a link. It will not copy image. Weird. So I guess I open it in browser.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I guess it embedded. No, it's fine. It's just there's a lot of programs we're working with right now. Now, here's the question. Will it open in my YG organization window? It did. Okay. Is the preview behind? Yes. There you go, chat. All right. Okay. Sorry. Legatia. Which, by the way, this might be the first ever, like, good 2-mat generic Sync 12. Like, there are some good 12s, but a lot of them are like require double materials or other weird setups. Like you have to sync them with
Let's
synchros.
see. Draw the non-targeting destruction.
Yeah. So also it's level 12 light machine synchro, and it's 35-20. One tuner or one or more non-tuner monsters, which I think that's just you just do Emmett 6 plus.
And then you put
Primera.
more, and then you also have them more show up back as traps, because
Yeah. You use the first 35 ones per turn. If this card's specialed, draw a card, destroy the face-up monster opponent controls the highest attack. 2, your monster with 2,000 or less attack can't be destroyed by battle, which is all your other little guys. During your end phase.
If they're face-up continuous traps, does it mean they still have to wait a turn before they can activate?
No, because they're face-up.
Okay.
Set them as continuous traps. And I think that's why they're continuous traps, is because, like I said, that means that their effects that proc in the spell trap zone are quick effect speed.
Okay.
So it's an interesting one. It does mean that their effects, though, are negated by cards like Royal Decree and stuff, though.
Trap's done.
This is another deck that loses to Jinzo because they are treated as continuous traps while in your back row. However, that does mean that they're not poppable as monsters.
But it means you also could play some of the cards, I think, and
actually, I think because
like the new Butler for Labyrinth.
No, not really. Lab is about normal traps.
Doesn't she just? I mean, fair, but doesn't she just ignore Jinzo?
I mean, yeah, kind of, but that doesn't really matter. You wouldn't do
Okay.
that part. You would just do something else to get rid of them. What I was gonna say was that all those other trap cards that become monster traps, those probably go really well in this deck. Because you're a synchro strategy, and cards like Shape Sister and Schrodinger's Cat and stuff, right? Like those you can pick your types and attributes. That can get you access to different synchro packages.
You know, I just remember. Actually, it reminds me of something very funny I learned yesterday.
This is fire, right? Yeah. No, it's dark. Ooh. Wait, shit.
Do you know the whole point of Schrodinger's Cat is actually meant to be a farce? It's meant to point out how quantum positioning is actually stupid.
Well, yeah, it's very silly, but that I would also like to say this to anybody who's going like, "Oh, quantum mechanics are silly." Yeah, but they're.
Well, that's what the guy who wrote it was that the hard part was meant to point out it's kind of a dumb idea.
I honestly, I think superpositioning is a silly idea, but the only reason why we have it is because it is scientifically provable. Quantum theories have existed for like 100 years. They're pretty rigorously examined so far, and it is actually true as far as I know. I am not an expert in advanced physics, but you cannot observe a particle's relative velocity and position at the same time. So one of those will always be uncertain, which is where uncertainty stuff comes from. Anyway, what I was gonna say is, hey, Trudea's dark and Primea is light. This means you can play Chaos Synchro Package.
They made new ones recently, actually, too.
Well, not recently compared to these, because these cards aren't even out yet. But yes.
Okay, they made one. They made one last year.
Chaos has a whole shitload of new synchro stuff, which has actually just been added to Master Duel. Chaos Angel fucking rocks. But part of that's because he's a 10 that says, hey, you can make a light or dark tuner if you want. Bye. But yeah, so Legatia is a really good boss monster. It protects your boys. It lets you place guys from your graveyard in your trap zones, and also lets you draw and pop. We've got some spell traps. They have their field spell card, which is Stand Up Centurion, which is the Gynax pose.
Stand up, lady.
So, this is also, by the way, is their field spell, which I fucking love.
It also looks like a Digimon to me.
Emmett does a little, I think. It's the eyes, but yeah. Primera's doing the Gynax pose in the shot.
Yeah, for sure.
So, this is your field spell. Can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects while you control a Centurion monster card. I love this, by the way. This field spell doesn't give your monsters protection.
You must kill her first. You must kill her first.
Yeah, this field spell doesn't give your monster protection. Your monsters give it protection. Fuck you. You can't pop my field spell. I need that. During your main phase, if this card was activated this turn, send a card from your hand to your graveyard, place a Centurion monster from your deck in your spell trap zone as a continuous trap. If a monster is special summoned, you can immediately synchro summon using materials you control, including a Centurion monster. It means you can synchro on your opponent's turn.
Basically, this is an enabler, and it also just lets you do your mechanic properly.
Yeah. It lets you do spell trap setup, and it lets you synchro, including synchro on your opponent's turn.
It reminds me of how the field spell for Cyframes, if you play majority Cyframes in the deck, actually needed.
Their quick play, Faith of Centurion. It's on foot, but she's doing like
It's
her
her pilot.
burning
It's her.
attack. Yeah.
It's like if it's like S or W, it's her pilot attack.
Yeah. You can only use this card's effects once per turn. 1. Place a Centurion monster from your hand or graveyard in your face-up spell and trap zone as a continuous trap. 2. If Centurion Synchro monster special summon all this cards in your graveyard, banish this card. Target Centurion in your graveyard. Place a special face-up. Just like enabling your basic plays. Traps, normal trap, Centurion Phalanx.
I think it's actually good that they're putting in like fail safes. I think
Yes, this is what
I think a deck archetype just needs fail safes, and they're putting them in.
Yeah, MBT didn't explicitly say this himself, but his chat did when he was talking about these new cards. This deck is hyper consistent. Almost all of their cards get you to putting them in your trap zone, which means you can special summon them. So like they're very consistent. They are missing a card, by the way, which I think people said might be a main deck card, but there's one name missing out of this wombo. Also, by the way, yeah, somebody brought this up in chat. This deck gets to Big Boy Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Calamity stuff very easily. But anyway, Phalanx is a normal trap card. Only use its effects once per turn, and only once that turn. First, target a face-up monster on the field. Banish it. Special summons to interfere with the standby phase, so it's just Farfa, normal trap. 2, banish the card from your graveyard. Target a Synchro Centurion monster. Special summon it, and if you do, it loses 1,500 attacks. So you
it becomes 2,000, which also means it cannot be destroyed by battle by its own effect.
And let me double check. Is Legia... No! On special summon, draw and pop. So good, that lets you recur.
You only use it once per turn, but if it's a turn
but
anyway.
you can banish it on your opponent's turn, or on your turn after summoning on your opponent's turn. So this is a good card. It just, like I said, it's just a Phalanx. Phalanx is just a Farfa type effect.
If anything, I've noticed that basically this card is the ejection.
Yeah.
Actually, look up the art because I'm actually curious.
No, it's doing a barrier. It's blocking an attack.
It's also the thing of like, yeah, it's got some You know what invaders are? You ever heard of what I said in terms of like capital I invaders?
No.
It's a get a robo thing. It's kind of a thing that's in most Gynax are just having like a generic amorphous alien force kind of thing.
That makes sense with Gynax from what I know about them. And then this is the big finish. Truth Centurion! It's their Omni. When a spell trap or monster card effect is activated, send a monster card from your spell trap zone to the graveyard. Negate its activation if you do destroy that card.
I feel like you could just make this archetype into like a 15-minute OVA.
Yeah, I wish they would. Also, they are reprinting Magic Planter, which lets you send face-up continuous cards to your graveyard to draw, and Gravity Collapse. So, good reprints. I'm excited.
Probably the cards you play with them, because probably can cycle them anyway.
All right.
So we want to talk about, I guess, the new player experience in a weird way. If you try to be too stupid about it, if you okay, I have to ask you this just before I talk about it too much because I don't want to just say things over your head. What do you know about what thing that happened?
I haven't watched the video from this original person.
I watched Farfa's reaction.
Yeah, I watched Farfa and MBT talk about it. They had slightly different takes.
I agree with both of their takes. I actually agree with Farfa's more of being like, at the end, it's because I personally believe this as being like, you shouldn't try to, for the sake of content, blindly avoid everything and then take choice information from other people, but not also look up how a deck works online. If someone gives you a deck list, you should look up how it works.
Yeah, and this is the thing I'm going to say, because this is the thing I did disagree with MBT on. He said that, yeah, it is rough to learn, but one thing that's important, and I think it's a little hypocritical that at least in the final edit of this, MBT didn't mention this. Hey, you know what there is for Yu-Gi-Oh? There is a huge secondary market on YouTube on how to play decks. Literally every time MBT does his, new cards PogChamp thing, almost always somebody in his chat is like, hey, yo, look up Lithium's deck guide or whatever. Yeah, by the time he looks at brand new cards, asks them on stream, somebody on YouTube already has a complete combo guide for hey, this is a neat thing you can do with this deck. And these cards aren't even printed yet.
I get Rowan's coming from a perspective of being where you play Magic where you can just play Draft and be fine, or play Hearthstone where it's all just kind of microcosm would just teach it. Yeah, it's not about being easy to comprehend, but Yu-Gi-Oh is a very old game.
Yeah,
so
as an app,
it's also high level Magic because Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have any low level play. It's all medium to high level play.
It does, but what I understood is that all of this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong if I missed this take, but I'm pretty sure this guy was doing this take through the context of Master Duel, right?
He also didn't read any of his cards of his deck before playing.
He was trying to jump from MD, basically from a Hearthstone type experience to MD. I haven't played that much Hearthstone, but I like downloaded it for a little bit. I'm pretty sure Hearthstone does have probably a slightly
Hearthstone's whole thing is that they
better
try to have
onboarding
no more than 2
appearance.
sentences of text to any card.
Yeah, it's deliberately designed to be simple and easy to play, and I think they have a better onboarding process for players. Like I said, I think Master Duel should change their layout so solo is at the top and like Duel is below. Like, but yeah, and like you said, Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't
You
have
should read your cards.
low power
read your cards
format.
before playing.
Yes, you should always read. I mean, that's the joke about Yu-Gi-Oh players is that Yu-Gi-Oh players lose because they choose not to read their own cards. They
One of the things he didn't
misunderremember.
play, he should have read his cards before playing his deck.
No, like and I mean that's I think is the divide. Like I don't know if he was setting out to be a serious player. Obviously if you're a
he was trying to,
newbie,
like,
you're
emulate
not
the new
setting out
player
to be
experience,
serious. But like
He was trying
If
to, like,
you-
know nothing is possible.
if you crack open a brand new Yu-Gi-Oh deck, like if you go to your store and you've heard that buying 3 Trap Trick starters or whatever is a good way to start the game, and you crack those decks.
And then someone gives you a deck list to play with.
Yeah. I mean, not even that. Like, literally, you just bought 3 Yu-Gi-Oh! Structure decks because you think they're cool, and somebody told you to buy them. You crack those fuckers open. 1, there's a rule booklet you should read. 2, you should read those cards, yes. Master Duel is a great automated sim, and it's made a lot of strides in UI and letting you know what effects are activating, when they're activated, letting you know when you've activated a hopped effect that you cannot activate again, you know? Like, giving you a little check mark, like, hey, doofus, you activated that already.
But you have to you should not be
Yeah.
spending most of your turn reading your own cards.
Yes, ideally. Though I still think that the Master Duel timers are a little too generous. But yeah, like it's one of those things where like I do think that Yu-Gi-Oh! And especially Master Duel is a little rough if you have literally no idea what you're doing. The game does not tunnel you into how you learn to play well.
I think it's just my problem is it's like I like Rauren a bit, but I also feel like he's a bit too stubborn to like commit to something when he really shouldn't.
Yeah, like
he was
I don't
too
know.
stubborn to commit to being like the game will teach me. It's like no, you have to try and actually read.
I mean,
you have to, like,
the
try
game
to
will
want to
teach
learn.
you, but the game teaches you through reading your cards and understand. Like I said, I learned to play modern
simulator,
Yu-Gi-Oh
it's not
by
to teach
just
you.
booting up EDO Pro, looking at deck lists, and like playing against AI decks and playing against my friends until I understood. I've got some EDO Pro replays on this channel. Of just me with the boys, some of which are just replays that I commentate on and shit. Like, you can still dig all that stuff up. Some of these decks, I'm bad at. I'm not good at Yu-Gi-Oh! Yet. I would argue, I don't know if I'm good at Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. I understand how Yu-Gi-Oh! Works. I probably do not make the most optimal deck building decisions, but some of that is my stubborn pride. Like, listen, I have a lab deck. I'm in gold right now. I don't jam Ash and Maxi in my Labyrinth deck.
Hey, like, at least you're not trying to make Red Eyes work again.
Oh no, I've learned my lesson. I built my entire red.
I'm sorry for you, man, but the deck's just not good enough yet.
Also, well, in Master Duel especially, it's not good because they're scared of Dark Dragoon for some stupid reason. I don't think the deck would be good if it was Dark Dragoon Turbo. But
I mean, listen,
without Dark Dragoon Turbo, Red Eyes is only good at
listen.
the Legacy Collection events.
Here's what we're saying. I don't feel like Dark Dragoon would
fucking ladder.
Listen, I don't think Dark Dragoon would even beat a Sprite or Tier deck ever.
Dark Dragoon. Hypothetically, Dark Dragoon could.
It might make it struggle, but I think you'd still lose.
Well, here's the problem: Dark Dragoon's negate is not once per turn.
I mean, you get twice, but fair. But I still think Sprite.
No, I'm. Let me double check. It's been so long since I played with Dark Dragoon, but
you get pop face of how many normals use it. So.
No, it's not the pop. The negate. It has a negate.
I know it's 1, but is it? Yeah.
I think it's negate for you can just discard as many times as you like to keep negating.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, the point is that if you do that, though, you're basically like unriding that
can't be destroyed by card effects. Neither player can target this card effect. So basic bitch protection. During your main phase, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls. Affect damage equal to its original attack. You can use this effect a number of times per turn, up to the number of normal monsters use a fusion. Once per turn, when a card no, it is a soft once per turn negate. You can discard a card negate. So yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know why Master Duel is scared of this. It's like
it doesn't affect tier. Yeah.
It's negate one activation and destroy, and if you do it gains...
might be annoying for cash, but that's kind of it.
Well, so, okay, it can't be targeted. It can't be destroyed. It gains 1,000 attack when it uses its negate, so it's a 4K towers.
Yeah, that would be hard for Labyrinth, yeah.
So, like, yeah, Lab doesn't beat this guy because he can't be targeted or destroyed. I mean, Spoilers, I still play Labyrinth Archfiend in my lab deck because there are cards like Dark Dragoon that are just giant guys, so your only out is just, okay, well, I'm going to make a gianter guy. What's that? You made What's that? You made a 5k Adignister? Let me put every fucking trap card in my graveyard.
Another thing I think is also, it's also just access code. You just banish it.
No, I think access code targets. Let me double check.
I thought it was non-targeting, or was it targeting? Because that's the one thing it's limited by, I guess. Oh wait, it's non-targeting cost. That's what it is.
You can banish one link monster. Oh no, it is non-targeting destroy. But it is still a destruction.
Okay, never mind. Destroy, never mind then.
Yeah, it doesn't. That doesn't work. But no, you just walk over him because if you target a link 2, which you have to, like, I don't think anybody makes access code talker with a link 1. You target at least a link 2, you gain 2,000 attacks, so you're 43. You just walk over.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, no, like, I don't know why Konami is afraid of Dark Dragoon in, like, literally.
Also, Airmax just kills it too because technically the effect was proc.
Chat. I have run into people playing Sword Soul in Master Duel. I forgot that for some reason Arch Nemesis Protoss is still legal in Master Duel.
Oh yeah,
which fucking sucks, by the way, because that card. Remember, his effect is to declare attributes and stop you from activating those monster effects for a turn. If you play a mono attribute deck, you're fucked.
You can't just negate darks, yeah.
I actually got to gold with Trickstar, but hey, Trickstar's all lights. I actually had to fold when a Sword Soul player made Arch Nemesis Protoss. I was like, okay, if this guy's smart enough to call light, I lose. I literally cannot do anything. All of my good effects are monster effects.
Have you killed someone in turn 1 with like basically making them draw half their deck?
No, because you can only play one reincarnation.
Ah, damn.
And present card is a hard once per turn. So I've never decked anybody out. I have burned some people for a lot, and obviously I understand that you have to like play to the outs, chat, but you would not imagine the amount of people who are so stubborn as to think they can out-activate a deck without doing board wipes. I have had people totally kill themselves because they were silly enough to be like,
I mean, it's why Masquerade's a big deal.
I'll add one more card. I'll add another card.
It's why Tax Dragon's a big deal.
Yeah. But I'm like, my guy, you've got sub 1,000 attack. I have double Dark Room. If you add a card to your hand, you lose. And they were just like, no, I won't lose. Or maybe they were committing suicide and just wanted the points because they didn't want to fold. But, like, I feel like they should have known they were going to lose earlier in the combo. I don't know. Anyway.
Listen, Omega, surrendering to most people is detrimental to their progress.
Not really, no. Like, I mean, I see... when, like, MBT and Duel Logs and stuff play, I see them go, we'll go next all the time. Like... I understand that, like, the game doesn't reward you for it, but, like, until you get to, like, Diamond and Master, you don't get penalized for losing, like, in the ranks. So, like, no, like, people should just obviously scoop way more because it's a lot shorter.
Like, yeah,
you don't get any, like, level or dual pass credit, which I fucking hate, but, like, it's...
But, yeah.
Trust me.
But to rewind it a bit, I feel like... I feel awkward about how... Rand was so, like, overwhelmed, but then chose to be overwhelmed instead of, like... Maybe it's because he's not used to, like, I don't know, looking into things, just to be like, okay, how do I actually do this?
Yeah, like,
I don't feel like you think you should be like, you should not think the simulator will teach you if it's just a simulator so you can play the game. You should actually, like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, and that's
it's like reading the rules to a board game. You can't expect the board game to teach you unless you read the rules.
But yeah, especially like if like you said, because you're more familiar with this guy's original work than I am. I had no idea who this guy was until like this video popped up and like Farfan MBT reacted. But like, what I was gonna say was that also, by the way, hey, Ubel is the cover card for Phantom Nightmare, Nice. But like
her cards are cool.
Yu-Gi-Oh is basically, if he's coming from Magic, right?
Like
if he's coming from Magic, I believe that some forms of Magic are supposed to be played draft format, so you understand, right? Like
he's coming from Hearthstone, where it's actually always entirely designed to be playable.
Yeah, Hearthstone is when you're talking about card games, Hearthstone's cheating. That card game's not physical. It's only digital.
They literally edit cards to make them easier.
It's designed to be worked in the simulator format and be plainly spoken. Yu-Gi-Oh is a pen and paper game first, and Master Duel is supposed to simulate that game very precisely.
I feel like I'm biased for Hearthstone, where it's like I feel like you should, if you're gonna make your own ban list and format for Master Duel, just edit cards.
Oh, I mean, I think that Konami. Well, so Master Duel's weird. I think that what Konami does want is they want their own official, like, Universal Simulator, to the point that, like, remember, the Master Duel World Championships, those guys played back-to-back, like, literally in the same venue as the guys playing the pen and paper World Champ. Like, they want this to be seen as a proper format to Yu-Gi-Oh! I do think they should probably be a little spicier with erratas, being faster maybe for some of those, and they should release the card pool a little faster.
And maybe
my main problem with Master Duel is
you
just
can
that,
do that easily.
one, Master Duel doesn't run events far enough because, like you said, you talked about like Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have alternate like low power formats. That's not technically true. Events are usually lower power, not always, but usually lower power because they ban a lot of the primo meta cards. The problem is that there aren't events all the time. There's like one event a month, but it's like only half the month. So like half the time it's just, well, play ranked. Anyway, I think Master Duel's getting better. I think Konami getting fucking, like I said, called out on that shareholder call, like lit a little bit of a fire under them. Like they've added like 3 secret packs since that conversation about Master Duel not being appealing to like converting customers, you know. But they're trying. But let's talk about Yubel a little.
She's actually
Yubel's
kinda,
cool.
it's actually surprisingly consistent.
This is also an interesting discussion point from MBT talking about it. I don't actually know if we should. I don't know what Yubel's pronouns are. Okay, they're
literally both
they're
genders.
technically intersex. So
because it's like, listen, they have one tit, they have one peck.
yeah, they got, as you said, they got one titty. We stand a one titty king here.
Listen, they usually have a lady's voice, but that's because in Japanese they usually have like ladies do the non-binary characters anyway.
Though they do make sure to
they're
usually pick somebody with
non-binary,
exotic
and they're
range.
literally both they're both both
like I said, they're technically
either and both
intersex.
genders at the same time.
Unless you're watching the dub, in which case they made it just a woman because it was the early 2000s, and I think 4Kids didn't know how to fucking deal with that one.
They had a woman's face.
Well, yeah.
Also because I think it is referred to as kind of like a lady in most pronouns. I think Jane Lee's refer to them as a lady, kind of. So
yeah, but Japanese pronouns are a little weird. But let's
blurry.
Yeah, there's some blurred lines.
I never
anyway,
understood Yubel saying a being, but yeah.
Art-wise, I fucking love these cards. Spirit of Yubel doing the fucking arm-crossed pose opposite of Spirit of Neos.
Because is Yubel always meant to be literally the shadow in Jaden? The shadow of Jaden
they're
being an alien boy?
Yeah, Yubel is like, Neos is like the symbol of Jaden's soul. Yubel is like Jaden's, you know, because it's supposed to be his like like soulmate, you know, his kind of dark mirror. Anyway, that said, card design wise, I'm not actually super happy that. Well, actually, I don't. MBT said this. The hero line is a little awkward. This is more for Yubel decks, but Spirit of Neos is a fucking annoying card to play against, but he looks cool, and you do probably need this special summoning.
It took me so long to understand Neos is an Ultraman character. Is just an Ultraman.
Yeah, I think that took a few people a while. It's because it's weird, but yes, definitely he is Ultraman. It's the tights, and the space and the tights. Spirit of Yubel is a level 10 Dark Fiend 0/0. You only use this card's first and second effects once per turn. 1. When your opponent's monster declares an attack, special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, take a spell trap from your deck that mentions Yubel, add it to your hand, or set it. So if you know your opponent is camping Ash, you can just be like, set it. Because remember, Ash Blossom doesn't stop set from deck and doesn't stop place face up from deck. It's only add to hand and summon from deck. 1. Can't be destroyed by battle. You take no battle damage from battles involving this card. 4. If this card is destroyed, special summon one of your Yubels that is banished or in your hand, deck, or graveyard. So, Spirit of Yubel can't be destroyed by battle and you take no damage. It's free special summon from your hand when your opponent declares an attack. If it's special, you get to search a Yubel card. If your opponent pops it to get rid of it, because they have to win the game at some point, you can just summon Yubel from fucking anywhere. Literally anywhere. Summon Yubel. Vanilla Yubel. Retrains of cards that are fucking broken because Yubel played them. Geist Grinder Golem, a level 8 Dark Fiend with 3k attack, 300 defense. You can special summon Geist Grinder Golem once per turn. Reveal a Yubel monster in your hand. Special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's field.
I always forgot Samsara and Grinder Golem totally from this era.
Literally MBT, who is a big, hero boy, and I think has followed GX a little bit, forgot. But yeah, no, these were originally Yubel's cards. I think they were.
Well, it's a season that doesn't get that much coverage. So, or actually, it's the end. It's the end of the season that got coverage because had the season that never got covered is actually the more interesting one because it actually has actual character things happen.
Yeah. The fourth season is important. But yeah,
It's about depression.
very much so, which is probably why they did not.
I think it would have been cool because it would have been very improvised for people to actually understand depression. Like, why do that with their lives.
I think technically, like event-wise, season 3 is spicier, but I can definitely see how after season 3, 4Kids was like, "Whoa, we can't. This isn't for." We're talking about shit that's no longer aiming at our target demographic of 7-year-olds. We don't know what the fuck to do here. Konami was like, "Okay, skip it."
It was meant to. I think it was eating up with its audience. I think when the seasons were going.
Yeah, it doesn't actually. I haven't actually watched season 4, but I'm familiar with the rough outline. Doesn't it involve a time skip?
I think it involves like a few months of being like it's next school year and like James.
Yeah, it's like the next semester. It's a vague time skip.
It also deals with like Clear World, which I think has to do with basically ennui, essentially, it being like stasis.
But yeah, so Geist, you can reveal a U-Bell monster in your hand and special summon this to your opponent's hand. Then you can special summon the revealed monster to your field. So just for U-Bell summon. During damage calc, if this card battles a U-Bell monster, your opponent gains 3,000 LP. Remember, you put this on your opponent's field, so you gain the 3K. 3, if you special summon U-Bell while this card's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card to your opponent's field. So this is just a card that, like, yes, your opponent gets free materials, but if you crash your U-Bell into this, you get 3K life points. Very fun.
And you make your opponent take the damage too from U-Bell damage.
Yeah, there's other cards that can cause your opponent to take the battle damage as well. And then
I also like
Demon Lotus.
I like the wordplay they bring up in like the Tia notes.
Yeah, because it's like the word for both, hurt, name, kill, and also Geist. Which, because for some reason U-Bell is German themed.
I mean, if you remember like Summer 3 Jalter, German is basically when like
that's true. The Japanese like the German language is like edgy, but yeah. So by the way, I love this little guy. I love the Samsara Lotus retrain. Like
it has the U-Bell hand from like this it has the U-Bell hand from like literally
its hand. It's got a little angry face. It's got
a reference to actually a dude. I think in season 2.
It's got the D in its name. It's just in there, and it's Sacrifice Demon Lotus, Samsara Regenerating Lotus, Dark Fiend level 1, 0/0. You only use each of its effects once per turn. Hopped. They'll probably reprint U-Bell. At the very least, Spirit and Lapis, I bet the TCG will probably do a Starlight Rare reprint of U-Bell in this set.
Weird enough, I will say this: I'm kind of sad that it won't have the D in it, so it can't be the secret D hero like bridge card.
Yeah, it's a little sad, but the D stands for demon, so I understand why.
Well, I mean, I think the point is I think it's also meant to like overlap with Destiny heroes because they use D hero.
A little, yes, it is meant as well because they've got all the Ds. But yeah, so 1, you contribute this card, special summon a U-Bell monster, a U-Bell monster from your deck. So this is just whatchamacallit, Loadfire, but for U-Bell, exactly. 2, during your opponent's turn, when a monster effect is activated while you control a U-Bell monster, quick effect, tribute this card. That effect becomes destroy one U-Bell monster on the field. I know MBT complained about this, but I actually...
How much U-Bell cards want you to like be popped by your opponent's effect?
Well, yeah, all the U-Bell cards do. I prefer change the effects to just straight up negate because it keeps the back and forth dynamic, and also that is the most Yu-Gi-Oh ass thing ever, right? To like be like, you thought you were going to do this, but actually what you do is you destroy my monster, which gives me advantage. Like, it's fucking Yu-Gi-Oh as fuck. I feel like
you should do that more often instead of actually like. I feel like there should be more. Instead of making more negates, they should make it more of like change the effect to something that actually is advantageous to you.
Yeah. Because like that's like a negate, but if it's once per turn, it still keeps the board
more on
interactive.
theme for how the anime worked.
Yes.
Which I think is probably
third effect during your end phase. If you control U-Bell and this card's in your graveyard, you can take this card and either add it to your hand or special summon it. This is important because remember, U-Bell has a maintenance cost.
All right. Okay, right.
So this gives you infinite.
Yeah.
Infinite
so you always
maintenance
have
material.
one. Yeah.
And then this is U-Bell's fusion form, which I fucking love because it's U-Bell but as like a dark flame wingman. It's rad.
It's Das Lukte. I think I said that right.
Yeah, it's bad German, so don't be too concerned about your pronunciation. It's supposed to mean something like the Eternal Love Protector, but yeah.
Eternal Stalker.
Yeah, basically. This is a Dark Fiend level 12, 0/0. Materials, 1 U-Bell, 1+ effect monsters on the field. Because, U-Bell is about super poly, so we had to make the U-Bell monster a really good super poly target. If this card is...
Good. So you go with the effect. I've just had a weird revelation about GX as a whole.
So, if this card is fusion summoned, inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each fusion material used for its summon. Can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. You take no battle damage from battles involving this card. If this card battles an opponent's monster, at the end of the damage step, inflict damage to them equal to that monster's attack, and if you do, banish it. Dark Flame Wingman, everybody. Also, the single greatest Super Poly target in all of time. But yeah, Axe, what were you thinking as I scroll through more card effects?
Oddly enough, when you said this, it's like I just thought about it, but like go back up a bit. Go back to like the Yubel fusion.
Oh, you want to look at the card art? Okay.
Yeah, just because I just partially, it's just like, I just really thought about, but it's like, honestly thinking about it, like, what do you think of Jaden? Or I guess like Judai?
Yeah.
But what do you think about him? Do you ever think about him for a lead up to Yubel? From like the guy of hero cards, do you think they ever lead to Yubel? From the get-go? Like, do you think it ever like go there?
No.
Because honestly, in my mind, if you think about if Yubel was the end point of the stories and you work backwards, it goes to being like an angle about a guy had attempted suicide or had super depression and basically buried it and then got into superhero comics. And then continuously, as going through school and like going to places to separate himself from his past, continuously goes into things, but then he gets a D-hero, which involves a weird demon curse. And then basically his depression and his like, basically all of his darker interests and like maybe like a desire to hurt, kill people, keeps trying to come out of him until it just basically destroys his relationship with his friends. It feels like in reverse, it's like that's weirdly like
yeah.
the meta comment. Narrative.
There's a lot of interesting things going on, and that kind of plays into the name of his next card, which is just called Nightmare Pain. Continue a spell card. You can only use one effect of this card's name per turn. During your main phase, you can destroy a dark monster in your hand or face-up field. If you do, add Yubel or a card that mentions Yubel from your deck to your hand, except Nightmare Pain. You want to destroy your own cards.
God, is it weird that like I think in like a reverse order meta commentary telling GX is actually just about like suicidal thoughts and depression?
I mean, no. I think that is kind of like what the structure was. It's just that like, and by the way, that makes sense because remember, vanilla Yu-Gi-Oh is full of like weird, fucked up shit, and like ends with like, hey, you have to like accept defeat that you're dead, my guy, and go back.
Yeah, so it's like about
you've got to come to the end of Yu-Gi-Oh is Atem. You have to come to terms with the fact that you're dead, and you've got to go home. You are a ghost. You must move on to the next life.
You have to pass on. Yeah, and it's like it's weird to have GX like as a meta thing, or I guess more just as like a subtext thing. It's entirely about. It's actually it really becomes more about escapism. Cause
the first season of GX, which I have watched like all of like relatively recently, within the past couple of years, I watched it subbed. Like that first season before like the Dark Writers get involved, just is like a hypothetical passing on of the torch of like, oh, Yugimoto liked this kid and hands it to him, and like he's a positive boy. He's trying to make his own way in the world. Jaden is he's book dumb, but he's got a lot of heart because his his thing is heroes.
Honestly, it's like a weird like retrospective reading of Jaden is literally a guy trying to like bury his depression,
and it doesn't work. Because chronic depression is like that. But he managed to come up with a new coping mechanism. Just ignoring your pain is not helpful. You got to come to terms.
You have to fight it and then like accept it.
Oh, yeah, sorry. The second effect of this is while you control any Yubel monsters, your opponent must attack them if able. If your opponent takes any battle damage, you would have taken from Yubel monsters instead. So yeah,
I like
the damage onto your opponent.
Like, yeah.
And it's an all-out attacks or final attack orders versus your opponent.
That's
attack.
Cool. I really like the idea now. It's like Jane is like he got into Western comics, then he got into like Dark Horse comics, and then he got into Toku.
Well,
and then he got Ultraman, and then it wasn't enough.
I mean, that's not strictly the progression. Mass Heroes were mostly in the manga. If you're talking about the Toku style stuff,
I mean, no, Toku's also Neos.
That's true, though. Admittedly, that's just Neos because like there's also the Neospatians are space aliens mostly.
I guess it's more of like he went into Western comics and then he went to like British comics and then he went into I guess
he doesn't go into British comics because he doesn't actually play D Heroes. That's all.
True, that's more the guy that more makes him deal with his own issues.
The weird thing about this is that you got to remember also Neos and the Neospatians is a loop back because remember Jaden like made those made cards like
Yeah,
that, like
it's
a
also
kid,
why
and sent
Yubel.
them
It's
into
also how Yubel exists
space,
somehow.
and then
he also made Yubel somehow
came
too.
back to him.
Yeah.
I don't remember the plot, but I think wasn't Yubel supposed to be like a person who like knew Jaden and like did they sacrifice themselves to space? Am I making that up?
I don't remember, but it was always a card that they had that like basically
did
killed,
Seto
hurt
Kaiba
people.
Kill a non-binary kid and compress them into a card? Okay, Chris Starlight says they were best friends.
Let me look this up just so we actually
Starlight
know.
said they were best friends. So Yubel was a person. Okay. Why are they a weird demon later? What happened to them? Did they choose to go into space?
Okay, no, they were a dual spirit.
Oh, right. Yes,
they were a dual
Supreme
spirit
King.
of a card.
It's the Supreme King thing, right? Jaden used to be a different guy, and he's a reincarnation of a
Oh,
new guy.
right, yeah, it's a reincarnation, and she was like his partner.
Yeah,
Or they were his partner.
Jaden is like the Yubel is the like the spirit of that partner or best
That's
friend.
weird. I mean, I guess I honestly I think it's like it ties into like it is basically just a fucked up version of the Atem relationship.
Yeah, kind of.
Where like the Atem is just a thing trying to destroy you.
Which to be fair, like I'm glad that Yu-Gi-Oh plays around with that a little. They kind of come back to trying to play with that with Zexal as well.
Even like Visas, actually no, we're not. A lot of Yu-Gi-Oh is actually about having basically a companion who is like your other half of your soul.
Yeah.
But like not like a romantic, but like in like an actual spiritual way.
Aibo, partner. But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. I probably should watch Vrains at some point, but it's interesting that Vrains doesn't really go in that direction. It's
pretty good.
They go really ham on the AI stuff. Yeah.
It also has an actual plays happen. Like there's
that I know is that like they actually made a game that was true to the card game, which was weird.
Like remember, like there's literally times about people trying to think like there's entire like parts of like duels where it's like, okay, when do I activate Solemn? Because if I fuck it up, I'm just dead.
Yeah, and like it only happens a couple of times, but I know that some people do brick. Like, I think that happens at least one duel where both sides just draw a bad hand and can't do anything, and I'm like,
and they just be like,
I know that's not interesting for the narrative, but I appreciate that you put that in there, even if it's just the one time.
And in the third season, they had to kind of rush it all, or like I think change entire scripts. So
yeah, I think they ran out of money because the card game was going weird. Also, by the way, Yubel played Spell Chronicle. So we now have Mature Chronicle. You can only use its second effect once per turn. Each time a Yubel monster or a monster that mentions Yubel is special summoned, place a counter on this card. You can remove up to 5 counters to activate one of these effects. 1 counter, special summon Yubel from your graveyard. 2 counters, add a banished card back to your hand. 3, banish a card from your deck. 4, destroy 1 card on the field. 5 counters, add Super Polymerization from your deck to your hand. And then the final card, which, by the way, is a favorite spell trap, which means that it works in hero searches. It links back up to Jaden's decks. This is a continuous spell trap that says once per turn you can activate one of these effects, but you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. Special summon one of your Yubel monsters that's banished during the graveyard. Neither player can activate effects when it's special summoned. Or 2, if you control Yubel, discard 1 card, send this face-up card from your spell trap zone to the graveyard, fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck using either field as material, including a Yubel monster. That's right, baby! It's a fucking super poly.
Honestly, I feel like the only thing they're missing is Yubel as a hero card. Because I feel like they could make Dark Hero Yubel or something like that.
No, you don't need to do that, because remember, Neos Kluger.
Neos Kluger, yeah.
Yeah, Neos Wiseman and Neos Kluger, I think Kluger is an E-hero, or at least he mentions E-hero Neos is valid. So, like, they have the bridge.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's, like, stuff you have to, like, very, like, brain out. But,
yeah,
honestly,
so good.
I can see a weird thing of, like, Mature Chronicle being, like, meant to really show the stages of how Yubel's relationship worked or something like that. Where it's, like, I don't know why, but it feels like that to me. Because
it's definitely supposed to be
the word DW we took, it made me think about it. It's like, oh wait, it's literally about a guy had a cosmic breakup, and then him trying to get away because he doesn't understand it because he's a new person. He's a new life now.
Yeah. Yubel isn't over Jaden even though he's fucking reincarnated.
And then he overcomes it, but then he's still super depressed because he killed a lot of people on the way.
Yeah. It turns out that in a previous life he was a no good, annoying guy that sucked and was very scaly.
And like this,
which is something you don't usually have to deal with in real life.
Loved them super hard.
Yeah, I think that's most of our new card selections. There's a lot of new Fire King stuff that's coming out. That's cool. Valiant Smashers has been announced for the TCG, so that's coming out. By the way, even though MBT said that Duelists of Flame wouldn't do anything, I do believe that Salamangreat did just top a YCS regional, a Worlds qualifying round. Salamangreat was the top deck, playing like literally one of the new cards from the set, and then all the rest is just all the Salamangreat good stuff. Sorry, I'm running out of voice. We've been here for like almost 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm running. I gotta go do a thing anyway, so yeah.
Well,
So,
we'll end
I
after
appreciate
this.
I appreciate the word deep dive. So
Hey, we're just faffing around. We're talking about stuff. It's just you and me. We could talk about GX and stuff. I should get back to watching the rest of GX at some point. I need to actually watch those later seasons that weren't dubbed. But let's not get back into that right now. But like, so Salamangreat, the eternal third best deck, is now the best deck. It's back, and it's very funny because all they did was just unban a bunch of Salamangreat cards and give them like one good new name, which is Salamangreat of Fire. I think is the card specifically that does good stuff, and then just they have a game plan, and it's funny. I don't necessarily like to play against salad decks, but like at the same time, I have mad respect for the fact that this deck is fucking unkillable. I appreciate that. But yeah, so stuff be happening. Let me pivot this back to on the window capture. Pivot back to paint the white field. I think the Supreme King just has no chill. I think is canonical.
I think he was just a tyrant, even if he was not a bad person.
He's got 0 degrees of chill. But all right, I'm gonna pop off. I'm probably gonna log in at 14 for a little bit and do some dailies.
I'm gonna go. Yeah.
Got some stuff to do. Speaking of which, by the way, remember Final Fantasy XIV stream tomorrow. We'll be doing the Moonfire Fair event at least, so you guys can see me become a Phoenix Ranger. So that'll be cool. Tune in. But yeah, we're going to wrap up Fail Portrayal here. Next time, Tier Lament. I'll probably have to spend the whole episode on that just because there's a lot going on there. I'm kind of sad I missed the boat on Tier and Master Duel just because building a competent Tier strat. I mean, I guess I could still now while they're neutered, but that deck was always interesting to me. Because while it is really complex, it's not like super negate heavy. It's just like inexhaustible. Basically, they're like a very strong resource deck. The problem is that the deck requires you to play like 12 fucking ultras. That's ultra names, by the way, not necessarily ultra numbers. So I just couldn't play enough Yu-Gi-Oh to get enough fucking dust, which is sad. But I'm looking up the Patreon poll for it. Blackluster Soldier still in the lead with 6. We've got a couple of days left, so support us on Patreon at 5 and up level to vote in this poll.
I still feel like people vote for just the cards they know.
Well, then they better fucking watch that episode because the Gaia one was merely okay. Got more views on the end of. I mean, it was a fun episode, but view-wise, it's merely doing all right. Whereas the Albaz finale is doing pretty good for a Fail Patrol.
Albaz is pretty big.
I will also say, Axe, you are still Spiral is still second place. It's number 3.
I mean, Spiral was also like kind of infamous for like how known it is. If you
I'm sure it will win at some point.
I mean, it's also because there's a lot of cards that are not called Spiral that are actually important.
True. That would be a very fun one. Also, that's another one where you get to play the funny censorship game. Anyway.
I just can't wait for you to show up like hotel staff.
Yeah, basically. And there's a few others. But yeah, so
also
that's where Fail Patrol polls are at.
Sad.
That won't be for another couple of streams, though. So next time it will be Tier Lament. And we'll possibly throw the Ishizu in there as well. And, you know, you guys can lament whether or not the game was skillful or not. I'm sure the comments will be super nice. But that's it from us. Thank you for tuning in. We'll show you some new cards and stuff. Honestly, like, I know that we're coming around to the Kashtira meta, which is kind of annoying. But, like, other than that, like, Master Duel's doing okay. The Light and Dark Festival's coming out. That seems like it's going to be pretty interesting to pit these two attributes against each other. So, we'll see how it shakes out. Thanks so much, everybody, tuning in. Please don't forget to like this video, to subscribe for more videos, and to, you know, ring the bell. Consider supporting a Patreon, like I said. Join channel memberships for badges and emotes. Have some fun time. We'll hit you up with some other stuff. And I'll be seeing you soon. Good night, us, everybody.